close my eyes. Every time I close my eyes. Every time
로맨틱 디너.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Hello and welcome everyone to the PUBG Players Cup. My name is Gibson. I am joined by the one and only Chunks tonight for the second week of broadcasted coverage of the PUBG Players Tour. Chunks, week 1 is done and in the dust, and we got 8 teams already qualified through to the next stage, but we got to find who'll be joining them.
Absolutely. It's going to be an exciting one. We've already got 8 teams qualified. We've got a load of new teams coming in tonight, but we need to bear in mind there are a couple of squads that are also qualified that will be playing tonight. In the event they make it to the top 8 again, then we'll pull someone from 9th place, 10th place. There are only 2 teams that are coming through. That's going to be Typhon and Empire, who have already qualified, that are taking part tonight. Because, just a reminder, there is cash on the line every single week. So if you want to get your hands on it, do ! Register in chat. The only rule is you have to be over 16 years of age, and you can potentially be playing next time and get your hands on the prize pool.
And if you do want to know who those 2 teams are, as Chunks said, it is Empire and Typhon. If they do finish in the top 8, which is what they're expecting to do going through the qualifiers again this week, the next 2 teams in the leaderboard will be elevated up to those spots. They qualified through the scrims, which is how all these teams got here, Chunks. And with that being the case, it does increase the odds for a lot of these teams to make it through to the next stage, since there's technically, 10 spots that are kind of up for grabs today.
Well, you definitely have to think that, that top half of the leaderboard is not going to be as top-heavy as we saw last week. We've got some squads like the Falcons, like, I'm trying to think of teams now, Liquid, all sorts of teams that took part last week that aren't going to be here. So not only does it mean that, hey, there's 1 extra spot almost that could be available, 2, I guess. You only have to make it to the top 10. Then there's less of those really, really strong teams that we see at the PAS, the global events, consistently dominating to maybe deny you points in those early game situations.
100%. Like, when you look at the list of teams that will not be here tonight, like you said, like Liquid, Falcons, El Proyecto, What It Takes, Taego, that's a lot of stars that will not be involved, which gives these teams a much better chance of qualifying. And just as we're speaking about it, here's a look at the teams that will be taking part tonight, Chunks. And, just when you think the lobby's getting easier, why not welcome into the PUBG Americas series Bestia, who qualified in the last wisp to the next PGS. But not only that, we've got Luminosity back in the mix as well. But looking at that bottom row, second team logo. That's a team I think you're looking forward to seeing tonight.
Any Gooners in chat? One here. Also, honestly, there's one team that I streamed earlier. I was watching the EU stuff, and on stream we were kind of going through the teams that qualified for tonight. Duel is stacked. Now that is I said it earlier, I'll say it again. It is a 2019 global level roster. I want to see if they're able to do it again, because when you look at the players on that team, we've got players like K-Mine that are coming back, who, I mean, we saw in the PCS, I think it was in the PAS last chance quals. I think, did they make it to the end? I can't quite recall. Either way, absolutely stacked roster. It's the ultimate mixed team in my opinion, and this is the group of teams that have already qualified over to the Masters. As we said, Liquid, Falcons, El Proyecto, Empire, Working in Silence, Typhon, What It Takes, and Toyo. A lot of really strong squads, some of whom we will see again tonight for that extra cash incentive. So a lot of them, they've just settled with themselves. They're like, okay, we got to the Masters, let's just focus on that now. So they're not going to be taking part this evening, but still, it frees up 8 more slots to potentially make your way through.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's, you're speaking about some of those teams as well. And I want to touch on Duel again. So I feel like when we watched PAS, I feel like they struggled, and it wasn't anything to do with talent, Chunks. I feel like it was more so to do with just rust. It had been a while since a lot of those players had played comp. Comp has changed a lot since they have played. And I think that this the Players Tour is a great way for them to get rust off. K-Mine announced that he was coming out of retirement earlier this year. Everybody got so excited. I think that if they keep with it and they play all these PUBG Players Tours, we could see proper prime K-Mine by the time we come around to the next set of international lands. But Chunks, I have even more information for you. I was talking to the guys at LG, and they've said, right, what, $120,000+ up for grabs this year in TPP? They are taking this really serious because they see this as a real way to pump up their coffers and, earn more money out of PUBG, which is what all you viewers can do at home if you register up and try qualify.
Yeah, it's certainly an exciting one for them. It's an opportunity to play consistently throughout the year as well, not just having, an event every couple of months, being able to just play week in, week out. There's cash on the line constantly, and there's always opportunities to improve through those weekly scrims. So absolutely get signed up. If you have any interest in taking part, just go for it. There's nothing that you can lose. It's free to enter. Anyone over 16 years of age can get involved. And that, as you said, there's a lot of cash on the line throughout the year now.
There definitely is, and we're about to get stuck into game number 1, and there is only 4 games on the night if you are joining us at home. So 1 game on every single map, and we are kicking things off here on Miramar to start things off with a flight path that will take us from the west over towards the northeast, ending just past El Azahar, Chunks. And I always feel the first map or two is usually these teams feeling each other out, wondering how this lobby is going to play together.
You don't have that opportunity, though, in a 4-map series. You don't have the chance to feel each other out and see how other teams are going to play because you don't have the opportunity to react. Look, you get hot drops here on Miramar, you're not going to get the opportunity to play it out again until tomorrow. So you're very limited in terms of the opportunities, and you really need to be careful about what fights that you take. LG 55, I'm pretty sure we saw them hot dropping over here last week. Neither of them are able to make it through. So let's hope that maybe one of them tonight is able to make that difference and qualify through to the Masters. As I mean, the hot drop, it's playing out exactly how we saw last week. Same positions, same warehouses being split. Maybe a different result, though, as both teams taking serious casualties last time.
Yeah, well, they ruined each other's chances, and last time we were here, Gooners were playing just north of this position, and this was more so in PAS they would have pushed up, but we're going to kick things off. Snaker's here. He's got himself ready. He's got the ace in his hands as he begins to wrap around the outside, just scouting it. They know that 55 are in this compound as well. Looks like the other members secured the vehicle for a little bit later on, but Snakers, as long as he can stay undetected here, Chunks, and just take some ground, it could help. But I suppose in third-person perspective, it's a little easier for these players to peek around those corners and kind of catch any flankers that might be on their way.
Yeah, it looks like 55, they're going to back away. This is something that we saw last week, but they left it a little bit later on, so it's good to see them kind of getting away early, but we have seen another hot drop on the other side of things. It's going to be Empire, one of the teams that have already qualified, that actually end up losing Adam early. Unfortunate for them. They've still got Michael upstairs, so he could potentially do a little bit of damage, but there's no easy way down from this build as such. You're really committing to this fight if you're landing up on that roof, and he's kind of trapped in here now. The rest of Empire, they're a little bit split off. We got Finna down to the south and Valiant split off to the north, so they need to try and regroup, but they can't overcommit because all it takes is to run out in the open for a second too long, and then you're down to a duo.
And I think Empire were excellent in the last Players Cup as well. The last Players Cup as well. So I think they're a team to watch. Spoke with the owner of the org over the course of the last week. You know, we reached out to, oh, here we go, Sam Crow peeks on up. There's the burst fire with that M16 hitting hard on the Valley. He should be, well, they wanted to get that flush, but with Michael not too far away, he's got the mutant as well, so he's got that burst fire opportunity. But shotgun AR close range like this, it could go one way.
He's going to get the flush, though. Finn are able to trade it out with the bolty. Nice headshot onto Shap right there. Takes him down. Equalizes the fight slightly. But honestly, if Valiant goes down, Empire is screwed because he got them half their points last week.
Yeah, it was the same in PAS.
His way
Valiant did, but let's talk about Michael. Michael went pretty big at times, but yeah, he's going to fall back and rotate around, use the terrain to his advantage to get in a better position, because the problem is, you're separated by Finna by all of these members of Sam Crismo. So I think he's making the right move. 3 players are pushing this way. Finna will be kept an eye on this north side by Shap. But they want it. But jumping over a little further away, and Zito from Vira Lata Camarello will find that knock and flush on the Doodoo Gladiator. What a name that is, Doodoo Gladiator, by the way.
Oh, some of the names that I've been seeing, especially on the WASDify sign up, it obviously links with your PUBG account, but some of the usernames I've seen on there have been questionable to say the least. I'll put it like that. But that's the beauty of playing on live server, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's fun, and I think one of the things as well is trying to work out who some players are. You know, it looks like T-Sock, by the way. Good to see his name back in the mix, playing alongside the Gunners as they drive on by. Typhon not taking any shots at this time of asking, but I want to touch back on what I was saying about Empire. So I spoke with the owner of the org. He was talking about how, you know, picking up this PUBG roster was their first step into Tier 1 esports. They had a couple of teams, you know, a little further down the tier list in other esports, but he was excited. And do you know what he did, Chunks?
I don't. Fill me in.
He gave me a jersey. I got an Empire jersey.
I guess I've got to reach out next then.
Nah, he reached out to me. You reach out, you don't get. He reached out to me. That jersey is sick. That jersey is sick, by the way. I'll get it up on my X. It's on my X Twitter at some point. But it's sick.
I'd say wear it next week, but someone's going to accuse me of being biased. I'm already worried about wearing a Bliss polo shirt.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring it up, but it's a nice polo.
Hey, I always go on about how much I love Oaths. I can't deny it. All right.
Yeah, it's. Hopefully you can rep all of the different types of jerseys you have over the course of the next week. But getting back into the mix of things, one of my favorite teams inside the Americas, potentially dangerous. I feel like this is a team with an incredibly high ceiling, but the floor for this team can be pretty low, Chunks. So at their best, they're winning lobbies against the best teams in the Americas. But the problem is the consistency of doing that is just not there. I think this event, the Players Cup, is another chance for them on a week-by-week basis to really hone their skills and become one of the top dogs inside of the Americas.
Absolutely, and I think another benefit of the Players Cup is the fact that it isn't necessarily about consistency. You have 1 or 2 explosive games, you can make it through. Typhon, though, getting cracked early on. Unfortunate there when they try and third party. They should be able to steal out the flush onto Vinny, though, get themselves that first point on the board. So they try and play the high ground. They're in a really strong position. I'd expect a lot of squads to cluster up on Power Grid here, which is a very hit or miss area to be in. You know, if you get into one of those compounds early, it's super powerful. You get onto the high ground, equally powerful. But as soon as you're a little bit late getting into Power Grid in those late game circles, it is so easy to get choked out. I know it's a little bit boring, but I would love to just see the circle keep centering up over Power Grid, because that would be an amazing one to watch. As Bestia now, they're going to be getting pushed by the Gooners. They rotated in early for this third party. Bestia already with the player down. As Bud tries to open things up, it's going to be him that gets caught with a little bit of damage. Gooners, the self-confessed ultimate mixed team, going to see what they can do against some of the best.
Yeah, T-Sock with the nade at the ready. Greg Shot keeping DraftKing interested while the nade's going to get thrown in. But DraftKing pulled off one of the plays of history inside of PUBG America Series, qualifying them for PGS. Mime, though, steps on out. He'll get the knock and flush on the T-Sock, but he gets caught on the door on the way in, and he will get knocked the other way. It's Icy that finds that counter knock, and Bunt will try to clean that one up. While that's going on, Bunt focusing on DraftKing. He's got his back against the wall, and I said this guy pulled off some incredible plays, but it's the Gunners he's up against this time, and I think that the Gunners, they're just going to beat him by numbers alone.
It certainly seems that way. I hate to say it, but that was far from prime time, mime time, getting caught on the edge of a door. It's one of those things, isn't it? I guess you could say, oh, TPP, different perspective, got to get used to it, but really that should have been ironed out in the weekly scrims. Unfortunate for them. As Gooners, they're going to run around, hopefully finish off the job. Only one player left up from Bestia, and that should be the end of things. I say that, but Silzen, he gets a lot of damage on there now. Looks like he is going to try and retreat, probably for the best, but if there's any team that's going to take this fight now, it's going to be Bestia. The Silzen switches over to the Org. He's got plenty of util. He could make it late into the game here, but, I mean, Gooners, they just want to take the fights, don't they? They're one of those squads where they just want to get engagements early on.
Yeah, and LG on the other side pulling back to where they called home when they're dropped to maybe get an opportunity at a third party. 3 players on Gunners left alive, 1 for Bestia, but Silzen, he's migrated way to the north. He's trying to flee and pick up as many points as he can from this position, which might just be Operation Survive. And Chunks, we're seeing people ask, how do you sign up? Well, the registrations are not open just yet for the next event, but !register will give you access to the Was2Fi link where you will go and register once it gets open. Never mind the prize pool, Chunks. The real prize is getting to get casted by you and I on a weekly basis. That's the true prize.
Hey, at least I can take it as a compliment. That's all ego on your part there. And of course, we should mention as well, not only me and you, Xenox is going to be joining me tomorrow as you're wussing out, I hear. I'm going off on my stag do. I'm getting married this year, so I'm on my stag party. So I think Xenox is covering me for my wedding and for my stag. But good to see Xenox again. You know what? I've worked with him in other titles. I've seen him do his job here. I think he's one of the best in the world at what he does. So, you know, getting him in action tomorrow alongside you should be a pretty fun watch as well. Yeah, I'll learn a lot. As much as I learned from you last week, I'm sure he will teach me plenty tomorrow, as he has a real way of being able to break down a game. It's super interesting when you get to listen to him. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. It is going to be the final set of games for this week, which is crazy to think that this event, it goes by so fast. There's so many opportunities for teams to get in and make their name, and also so few. You know, we're used to having these longer format events where they're going on for a couple of weeks at a time, but no, this is rapid fire. You have to make it count while you can. For a minute, I forgot that you could just deploy a parachute in midair. I was worried about Andrew.
It's been a while since you'd casted comp, and you're like, oh yeah, you can do that as Roth will spray towards AKA, also known as. Now, I am very upset at how things went for Al Qudsi. I thought they would do really well at PAS. I thought they'd be going internationally. But these guys, keep an eye for them. Al Qudsi are insane. And I think that they could really do some damage this year in this circuit as well. And, you know, you never know where they could be come the next set of international events.
Absolutely. I mean, I love this play from them. Using the glider, getting that air support in. I feel like the ultimate strat is having 2 players in the glider, and one of them is just loaded up with util, like every single nade, get them a C4 and everything. Just cause problems for those other squads. And that's why when you got a player like Roth who can land those nades, takes down Jube, and now AKA going to be in a little bit of trouble. Definitely on the back foot in this fight. They've thrown down a shield for a little bit of extra cover inside, as Cowboy's just trying to find a sneaky angle. Throw down the BZ nade is going to start chunking a lot of damage. This could be Al Qudsi's opportunity to push. They're deciding not to take it just yet as they throw out the flashbangs, get the flush, confirm that point, follow it up with the second. Dartek trades it, tries to flush, not able to. Al Qudsi now throwing down a bit of smoke, trying to get that cover, and there shouldn't be too much of a threat. We do need to bear in mind, though, Duel are not far to the southeast, and it would not be unheard of for a squad like Duel to push in and third party onto this.
Yeah, I think that had it lasted a bit longer, you'd be spot on. They'd be right in the mix, but they've got a pretty good compound themselves. And the circle, you know, with that shift, They might be happy to just hold a spot as for now and see what happens a little bit later on. Team Quesito, one of the new teams inside the qualified this time around. Varas, Robert, Bran, and Lucha. I think a lot of us will know them from, watching scrims inside of the Americas. They're not like off the team of people that are unknown. These are pretty nifty little players. And they see Andrew, another pretty useful player on the opposite side. But I feel like at this sort of a range, it's really hard to get a knock. And here comes the crash on that position. Sharp shot with an insane Panzerfaust there, Chunks.
This is not the first time I've seen these. I was watching the EU Players Cup earlier. We saw the Panzer used to great effect, and we are seeing it yet again. And I love just the little bit of trolling coming out when he knew he was knocked, just leaving a trail of ammo just to make it that slight bit more inconvenient for K-Man to loot. I love those little plays. Wooly, he tries to make a crash, and he gets punished, unfortunately. So that's going to be dueled down to a 3-man. There's Vinny, the last player left up for the squad with 15 seconds left on phase 2. He's going to be looting up. I can't imagine there'll be too much that he needs to grab. He's looking pretty stacked already. Team Casito, though, already taking a long-range engagement down towards those players on the northwest. Not able to connect with anything, but they need to find an opening into zone because it's very unlikely this shifts towards them. Whereas they do actually just about keep a player in. This is going to be a really brutal circle here, Gibson. Sure, we got Monte Nuevo, which has a lot of hard cover, but these are very open deserts that teams have to try and navigate now with not much to work with inside of it.
Yeah, Silzen sends the mortar up just from the open, as we can see in the map, but that farm compound just to the west of the Monte Nuevo field, completely vacant. It's a great spot to play. I think some teams might assume that there's players playing there, which is to be expected, but Gats, he thought he had the chance to do a bit of a hit and run there on the Silzen, but wasn't to be this time around. But I'm looking, that warehouse compound is sitting pretty. The rainbow compound that K-Mind you'll see moving into in a little while, it is sitting pretty as well, and I think that's a great decision from Jewel. But for Silzen, you're solo, you've got your tires popped, you're spinning around, you're hoping everybody gets out of your way. This little crevice might just be his only play.
Dips free, I guess. I mean, surely he commits this. I mean, you've got to be a little bit concerned now with those teams that could potentially come over the ridgeline. I think the fact that there are so many squads clustered up to the north may actually provide a little bit of extra cover. He isn't so vulnerable from those angles. It's mainly from the south he needs to watch out for. As Luminosity, they're making the most out of their high ground, trying to make something land. I wanted to point out the mortar earlier. I didn't think that it would actually end up being used, but it certainly is being nicely done. As, oh wow, Kudsia, they're going to be getting crashed again. It's Penta that's the first one to fall, traded out for Cowboy. DIY quick to follow. Relo's doing his best from long range to try and provide support for the team, but right now it's Roth in a pretty much a 1 versus 2 situation. He's not going to be able to get the revives, but he will get a second knock for the Trouble. Can he potentially follow it up with a third? No, he's focusing on the flush right now. He's giving away his position, trying to use that cover as best he can. This is where third person becomes tricky now because Roth doesn't have the best read until that player peeks up. He now does. Caught with a little bit of damage as it's a 1v1. They are both clustered up and it looks like the res might come through. Roth doesn't have any lethal utility to try and use on this fight now.
Yeah, but if he's going to get the peak, he knows the res is happening. There you go. Roth gets the kill onto Penta and Mian Huala. And that is the end of Resme. And he should be able to pick up a bit more loot. 7 kills for Al-Qudsiya. And they'll be pretty happy with their haul so far. A lot more points to be garnered as you see the Lamborghini just beside him. One of the things I do like about being on the live server, Chunks, is getting to see all the beautiful skins inside the game. And with 139,000 up for grabs this year as well, that's... If you win everything, it's just about enough, maybe to rent one for a day or two, maybe.
Here's the problem with that, Gibson. Skins equals skill. Therefore, the better skins, the better you're going to perform, and the more likely you'll going to be to get the prize pool. So actually, if you don't have skins already, you're not going to win. That's how it works.
Oh, Chunks, you missed the pun. I'm disappointed in you.
I'm oblivious to your puns sometimes, Gibson.
It's skins equals wins.
Yeah, fair enough.
Come on, skins equals wins. That's the way that you want to do it. But while all that was going on, Chunks, the circle shifted and it went hard over towards that east side of the circle. And you can see that Sam Charisma were lurking right behind LG.
Silzen.
And Silzen's got to be careful. He's got to be careful. He peeks up, but he gets away with it. Oh, and he gets the knock.
I was going to say, Silzen, just keep your head down. They haven't noticed you. They've gone right past you. He says absolutely no to that. Catches one with a beautiful headshot out of the vehicle. He's got 2 kills on the board. I mean, in all likelihood, looking at the way the circle's formed up, look at how many teams alive, he's not going to make it into placement. So these kill points are doing work right now. XP and the rest of Longenberry disciples doing what they can to try and provide some fire down to those rotating teams. Not going to be able to connect. As I mean, I was saying this circle was brutal. I think that it's shifting to the east is probably the best thing for a lot of these teams, though, because there are a lot more ridges that you're able to play on that hillside. Yeah. You still have to be careful of teams like LG who have held onto that that high ground since the very beginning, but they will have to make a move sooner or later. That's where you can strike and get those kill points. As Belfrost, another OG name right there, tries to make the rotate, but it's J-Sank who gets the opening knock. Tiny's down as Karak, low HP, manages to pop the heal, but it's not going to be enough. J-Sank finding him with the headshot. Really nice done from Log right here. Typhon trade it back out as J-Sank falls. I think it's down to a 2 versus 2 as Belfrost preps the nade out the vehicle to try and close up the distance.
Yeah, Quan, though, in full retreat with 9 HP, gets back behind the shield, and Balefrost will get knocked by Vinny as things ain't looking good for Loganberry disciples. And by the way, we're not allowed to say J-Sank, it's the J-Sank as Silzen finds another knock, but it's going to get stolen away as that kill is picked up now. Quan down, Beastweaver picks it up, and now a Psycho is moving towards Silzen from Typhon. But yeah, we got to refer to J-Sank as the J-Sank to us, right?
Okay, I will bear that in mind from now on as... Oh, that is rough for 55. They get caught right out in the open. They are able to trade it, but this is a difficult hillside to be fighting on. I don't think they were expecting to get backfilled here as more nades come out over the top. Oh, Mixtall, unfortunate there. Switches weapons at the worst possible time, but Backy's there to trade it out later. Now down with only 1 player left up, but 55 stuck on the very edge of the zone. Going to try and get these revives in. I don't think they have the read on where that final player is, so they need to assume that he's nearby. Bestia, unfortunately, Silzen does fall, but he was able to get a couple of points on the way as VLC, I'm just going to refer to them as, because I am not even attempting to pronounce that name, down to just a solo. Going to try and work the edge of the zone, and with that new shift, they've got a little bit of trouble to try and make it in. It should be possible, though.
You got to give it that flair as Vinny peeks over and he takes down the J-Sank as in Zeke team will find that point on the board for them. But the fun thing about seeing J-Sank play is I was talking, and earlier on I said that Snakers was the best technically retired player in the game, because, you know, technically he is retired, but he's inside the lobby, and J-Sank was like, whoa, hold my drink, as he decided he wanted to play as Vera Lata. Camarello will get eliminated by Gabri, and he will get on the move once more. But LG Chunks, they are sitting pretty in the center of the circle. They got the high ground. They just have to wait and the kills will come.
They've not moved. Are they playing chicken dinner for right now? Because they are just sitting center circle and they are putting in work. The only concern that I have about them is how much util they might be burning through here, and that's something we see a lot of the time when these teams have a high, you know, prominent position and they're putting down a lot of fire throughout the game. It can leave them a little bit short when you get to that end game. I think the positive to that is they're still going to have a lot of grenades to work with, which maybe a couple of teams may be running low on. The Schooners, I mean, we were talking about retired players. We got basically, what, 2-3 squads of retired players right now, and they're all absolutely stacked when you look at the names on the teams.
Yeah, look, it's so good to see these names back in, and like, they just the opportunity to play competitive PUBG essentially week in, week out can be too hard to turn down. Sharp shot up on the hills here for Jewel. He's got K-Mind and Shinboy for company, still alive for their side as they push in from the south. They've got a couple of squads to the north. Well, actually, all the squads to the north as they're currently the most southern side inside the lobby. But I'm looking at Sharp. He got that MK. He got himself some level 3 gear in his pocket. He is sitting pretty as Angel here for Sam Crismo is trying to thread the needle and get those shots onto Icy, but I just think that round from the Dragonov, that 7.62, just too thick to get through that gap.
And trust me, I know a few things about being too thick, and unfortunately, I don't think that one's going to happen. He's going to keep trying, though. 18 bullets left in the mag. I'm not sure whether this is something you want to be committing to right here, but hey-ho, Bizzler's able to get the knock. He might be able to flush it out. I think he's just trying, and I don't think this is going to work, unfortunately. Sharp shot, though. Look at this. Getting the 3 gear, getting the Groza. This is going to be a nice little supply drop for them, and they're going to need it because they are going to have to try and deal with LG, who don't yet have to make a jump down, but they are going to have that high ground, and as I said earlier, I'm sure they've got plenty of util to work with. So as soon as Jules start making some noise, I've got to think LG are going to start a little red zone on them.
Yeah, I think they're in such a great spot, though. I think LG are an incredible spot. They're set up for success inside this matchup, barring them overstepping some boundaries, as 55 Esports, who left this area of the map near the start of the game and, you know, migrated a little further away, and now they find themselves back in this area. 3 players up. Sam Crismo being put to the sword by them as they look to take down Sam Crow. But the problem is, you win this fight, you got the Gunners right beside you, so it's not looking good for 55. They have a lot of fighting to do before they can get in this circle.
You might win a fight, but there's no winners in a circle like this unless you're a squad like LG who are up at the top and you've got somehow a crate, which is unbelievable. I was saying I was worried about them burning through ammo, but now they've picked up a fresh MK with, what, 250 rounds in reserve? They are more than happy with their position. They've got the high ground. They're just hoping that circle shifts towards them again. Which, I mean, there's going to be very few shifts here that will completely cut out LG's position. They're going to be staying up there till the late game now. As Sam Charismo, I mean, just keep quiet, I guess. Hope that you can sneak your way in. Hope that LG get preoccupied worrying about the Gooners. As Gooners, they're going to be in an actually very difficult position. They were focusing on LG, but now that 55 are moving in, they're going to be looking for some hard cover on their own, because otherwise they have to crest over this ridge, completely exposed, and that's not something they're going to take lightly.
Yeah, Gats on the high ground. He's got his eyes off in the distance towards Laucha and the rest of the team as we jump back on board with H11 Junior from 55 Esports. He's got the FAMAS at the ready with that level 3 gear. And the thing is, for the Gunners, you're a little weak from an earlier fight, but as we know better than most, the Gunners love an explosive. And with that Panzer at the ready from Bunt, you ought to be careful. But Psycho here from Typhon spots out H11, and that might just accelerate the push, Chunks, and that's exactly what it does. Those shots have forced 55 to push in now and take this fight.
They've got the player advantage. It just comes down to Bunt, I think, is maybe the deciding factor. Goonshot GG is going to be covering the doorway, making the calls, playing for the audio cues as 55 slowly starts to creep their way in. They do have to push to be able to make it into circle here. I think maybe one of their players could just about be in, but that's going to be made a whole lot easier now that Gats has taken down Greg Shot. I'm going to say Greg Shot because there's going to be too much gooning tonight otherwise, along with the chat. As Bunt, he's switching over to the Panzer, going to try and pre-aim that doorway potentially, but no, doesn't take the shot back. He closes in, but takes down 2. He gets caught on fire. That's going to be the end of him, but he manages to confirm. That leaves only Backy left up from 55 Esports. Beautifully done by the Gooners, making it into the top 7.
Yeah, but Chunks, he got his. He got his. Even though they went out, he got his. And now Luminosity looking to pick up Backy and what's left of the side. But we spoke about how they would be in the circle no matter what, and they are, as Gats now holding vigil over the center of the map, looking a bit further north, and you can see that Snakers is just raining death. He caught Sharp Shot with a nade in his hand, and he drops it on himself, and he will fall, so Jewel now lose another member. But Jewel, use the Rock, it's your friend. Luminosity and the Rock are your 2 best friends in this whole lobby right now, because they will keep the Queso team away.
I kind of expected this to happen. I think I mentioned it earlier. As soon as Jules started making some noise, LG, they were just happy to peek over and try and sponge up some kills. They've not fully committed onto it just yet. They don't want to give up this high ground at this exact moment. But Snakers, he's happy to give up his position if it lands him a couple of kills. Unfortunately, not going to be the case as now TQ close in. 55 Esports eliminated by Typhon. Shimboy putting in work, though. Takes down 2 from TQ. As they are out in the open, you got to think the chance of getting revived are slim to none here as the nade comes out to try and get the flush. Shimboy still going to be covering. Not sure whether he's going for the flush or whether he thinks there could be a third player, but either way, Jewel are playing very carefully right now. 4 kill points on the board, but only 2 players left up as they make it 5 if they can flush this one out. We got Brian K-Mine back. It's the TPP. We're going back to the good old days, man.
It's the buff. That 4x AUG spray hits hard when K-Mine's at it, and Laucha will fall. Snakers, though, you get too close to that angle, and he's going to peek on up and find that knock on to Shinboy, leaving it all down to K-Mine now for this side. But you look, the big problem for LG now is how much ammo have they got left? They've been up here raining hellfire on top of the rest of the lobby for so long that supplies might just be low. But the thing is, if you win these fights to the... Well, I know that Gats was pretty low.
Yeah, I think Gats is the only one that's low right now. But then again, Gats is one of those players where he'll just shoot at anything that moves. It seems like the rest of the squad, they're all looking pretty good in terms of ammo right now and when we've spectated them.
Hopefully. I hope you're the one that's right on that. I'm not going to... You're the one that I hope is right on that one, as K-Mine manages to out-survive that blue. The zone shifts and Gats still finding himself inside the zone. Yeah, Snaker's not too bad. Look, he's looting. So we spoke about the ammo, and that could be an issue. Well, Snaker's dropped on down, grabbed himself a little bit of something from the crate, and I think K-Mine, you might just be cooked by this nade. It's thrown right in on top of him, and that's a great throw from Snakers. And down go Jewel in 5th place. And look at this. It's a 4v2v1v2. LG should wrap this one up, and they're focusing on every team individually. Next target is Varas, and Snakers, he'll peek on out, spray through the smoke. But I like the way LG are picking a target at a time.
I didn't even notice for a second that LG already had 9 kills. It feels like they've just been picking squads off one by one at range. Snakers, the most technically gifted retired players, Gibson has named him. Throwing out the flashbang, going to try and close this up. A load of util. Surely he's got to be expecting this caught with the hip fire, but it's not going to be enough. Voxic falls as well as LG. Well, they've just lost their advantage in very short amount of time. Varus flushes it out. Nicely done for Team Casito. There's 3 kills on the board, making it into the top 4. Very impressive play for them after what was an unfortunate push from those 2 other players earlier.
Yeah, that's great for Varas, though. Getting that extra kill point as well as Snakers was hoping to have some support, but the knock caused a problem. And now you're going to have to get the res off on Voxic. That's exactly what the Bizzler will do. Gat's job from up on high is to make sure that Varas doesn't peek up over and try to get another knock or 2 onto LG. While all that's going on, every other player inside the lobby is chilling. They're not getting aggro. They're holding their positions. They're waiting to see what happens next. And Varas, though, Chunks, he's going to have to move very, very soon indeed, because this next zone shift will center right up on top of that shack that Nightavon is in. And this shack literally is the center of the zone. This is it.
Potentially dangerous is maybe not the right phrase in here, because this is a dangerous position for that final player, surrounded completely as Bizzler peeks up, finishes off the final player from TQ. 4th place, a good attempt from them, a solo for Typhon. And LG, they've managed to get that player advantage back, but still not going to be an easy feat. Trying to catch him from multiple angles by the looks of things. I think they've still got a player anchoring up top. It is going to be Gats, though, who we mentioned earlier, is extremely low on ammo. I think he might just be hanging back, trying to use that Mini 14 for a bit of a long-range assistance, while the rest of the team with the majority of the ammo, the majority of the util, are going to try and close in here. Bizzler just tried his best to pre-fire as Voxic gets that nade ready. It's going to be enough to finish off the job, and now that center of the circle advantage is completely lost, followed by a second as potentially dangerous are out. It's only that solo from Typhon, and now, well, LG, you've got to assume they're going to close in. Gats is going to come down this hill, and they're just going to sweep as a squad. They're actually trying to get on the roof by the looks of things.
Yeah, they've cleared the castle in the center of the compound. They've cleared it, and now it's just a matter of when. You look down, you see the blue smoke. Gats will be able to feed the information that the last player of Typhon is going to be on the other side of it. Psycho will step a little closer, a little bit further forward, but as you can see, Gats will spot him out, and he ain't going to miss. LG, huge win to kick things off, and with that, 23 points on the board. And look at that, the Gunners coming in with a big 4 assists.
Really impressive there from LG. 13 kills to wrap things up, and it felt like it was a slow burn for them. They were just consistently putting in numbers. They didn't really take many team fights until the end game, which is what you want to see. You want to see yourself picking up those kills here and there because it weakens those squads around you, and you saw that when we got to the end where teams were just completely ripped apart, down to 2 or 3 players left up. Beautifully executed there by LG. And we were saying earlier on, weren't we, it's all about just 1 or 2 big games. If LG have a couple more of those, they're going to be able to qualify, and it's stark contrast to what we actually saw last week.
It was. Chunks, I have a question though.
Yep.
With the Gooners having 4 assists, could you say they got really, really close, but they just didn't finish?
They were right on the edge. I mean, it was so close for them. They nearly managed to finish the job, but unfortunately, they didn't have the stamina to be able to keep it up.
Yeah. Oh. Anyways, moving on here as we go through the highlights. Vinny with a big play. Gabri managed to pick up one of the Lata players a little earlier as well. But the game kind of really was all about who got that mountain in the early stage of the game. LG took it so early. Nobody really contested them for it. And they were able to use that position to get the kill. Great job picking up extra points by some of these solos, but you look at Gats in that position, he's never going to lose those.
No, even with that little ammo, you know that he was going to hit that kill anytime as soon as that player ran out in the open. And even if he didn't, look, those 2 players, they had a read on exactly where that solo was going to be. And a real good lead there for LG. 23 points to start off the evening. I'm trying to remember what exactly our cutoff ended up being last week as I take a look back. Yeah, our cutoff was 48 points. Now, granted, it was very close, but if they manage to have, 2 more games like that between the rest of the games tonight and tomorrow, yeah, they've qualified in first position.
Yeah, and you know what? It gives them a really good position going into the rest of the night as well. So there's 8 maps in total over the course of the weekend. So, you know, there's not a lot of games to get loads of points, and we kind of got an idea the last time around what that point threshold is going to be to qualify. Chunks. But game 1 is done in the dust. And before we jump into a quick break, any final thoughts on the first Miramar?
I just want to see Gooners finish the job. That's all.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, we're going to jump into a quick break. When we come back in about 3.5 minutes time, we'll get stuck right back into the next one. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Get out of my mind.
Miramar is in the history books. We are back at it now with game number 2 of the night, Chunks. And just as everyone was getting used to the sands of Miramar, we're changing terrain right away. And the big thing that means is different maps, different teams like to perform on them. So coming into the next one, have you any feelings early on as to teams to watch out for?
I think there's a lot of teams that didn't get a chance to shine that game when we look at squads like Empire, like Bestia, teams that we expect to do really well and then just didn't perform. I think we got to blame the Empire one on that hot drop. Hopefully they can find a safer drop spot later on, and ultimately just keep Valiate up. If you can keep Valiate up, you know, a couple of minutes into the game, he's going to go off, he's going to do his own thing, he's going to get like 20 first aid kits, he's just going to sneak in, and then he'll sponge up at least 10 points at the end. Like, we just know that this happens for them at this point. So we need to hope that they're able to do that. Empire, though, they're one of those teams that have already qualified through to the Masters, so they don't need to worry just yet. They can take it easy. They're playing for fun, essentially. Of course, they want to be able to get a bit more of that prize pool, but it's not the end of the world if they don't perform well tonight. They've already qualified. There's already a bigger prize pool on the line when they get to that point, so they can just take it easy almost.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, like, Valiant in the last event, really good at using those meds. But did you see what Michael did in the PAS Grand Finals?
I just know that Michael is consistently cracked. You know, he's just insane.
On one day, I think Michael used 126 first aid kits. On one day.
Look, Empire are just doing Empire things. It's working for them, so I'm not going to complain. Look, it's people in these lobbies a lot of the time, you know, you pop your head out, you get damaged. If you've got plenty of meds, you just use them. You know, it just makes sense. And you know, I think it speaks a lot to the quality of Empire, where they're able to consistently take these engagements, take a lot of damage, and still be able to make it through to the end game. It's really impressive from them. As I'm trying to see if we've got any like major hot drops coming out. It looks like potentially Bestia could be facing some trouble here. But in terms of early game engagements, I'd like to hope that there aren't going to be too many, because it really did cause problems last time.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about causing problems, Chunks. Look at this circle right here, way up to that North Island. Yes, we get a lot of circles on the North Island, but this is essentially cut out all of the mainland straight off the bat. So all of a sudden, rotations become so important. Look at Al Qudsiya. They dropped. They're not looting for long at all. They're going, we can loot inside the circle. With this flight path, army base will be clear. All these compounds to the north will be clear. Then we can move and secure somewhere around the circle for the late game. I like that they're on the move really early. You look at the same side, the J-Sank is rotating past Hey Musa. Balefrost is already in Watsong. Like, teams are going for that mindset of early bird catches the worm.
It's going to be interesting to see how teams play this out now. You know, I mean, there are so many squads that I know that this is one of those maps where we have, you know, a lot more opportunities to cross. There's not as many choke points. But when you have this many squads on the main island with such a long way to make it in, and, you know, such a difficult rotation, if LG, for instance, decide to hold up in this spot, you're really going to see potentially a lot of bridge camping here, which, you know, I don't think we see enough of. I love seeing a bridge camp because it's infuriating for the teams that try to cross. And then inevitably what's going to happen is one of those teams is going to stop up on the bridge, and there's going to be 2 more teams that come up behind them. So that is what I love to see. I love to see the mayhem, and I think in a circle like this, we should expect a lot of teams to be down to 2 players within, you know, the first 2 phases.
And they're scarier in TPP, Chunks, because you don't even have to reveal your position until the very last second. So this is going to be a ton of fun to keep an eye on. Buksansa, of course, is being looted now. It's not inside the circle, but you think for Jewel they'll be able to work on things and, you know, get everything that they need. Probably hoping, Chunks, that they could have found an E-pickup and made their way into the circle that way, but at the same time, do you see how much stuff they've got inside that porter? Like, they've got mortars, they got helmets, they got vests, they got ammo. I suppose that's technically what a porter is for.
They've got the jammer pack. And that is going to come in very useful in a circle like this, because they could be out there for a long time. We spoke about the emergency pickups. We're going to see quite a few of these getting used. As soon as a team finds them, they're going to do what they can to avoid that bridge camp. And honestly, I can't blame them for it. AKA, They're going to go straight into the center. They do need to be careful. I think a lot of the positions that you want to try and get inside the circle in terms of getting the high ground, getting a bit high cover, they're already going to be taken here by squads like LG, like Gooners, that are already center circle. Speaking of those two squads, by the way, they're both on top of each other already, so we could see a very early game fight between two very strong teams.
Yeah, as we see another two pretty good teams rotating past each other, Al-Qudsiya and Safe Rez. But I'm sorry, I still can't get over the fact that that guy's name is Doo-Doo Gladiator. Like, come on, it's so good. As D will step on up here for Al-Qudsiya, do some scouting. They did exactly what I expected. They're looting up on the north, but I'm looking, right? For those of you who don't have the map feed open, !map, I should bring it up. You can keep an eye on that to keep an eye on all the rotations that these teams do. All the bridges are essentially free real estate except for this one. This solo bridge on the very north is the only one where players are holding it. And Empire, well, this Empire ain't going to last as long as the Roman one did if they try to cross this bridge.
I didn't even take into account until you mentioned earlier the fact that TPP is going to make these bridge camps just horrendous because you're not going to know until the very last second, and it appears that's exactly what's going to happen here. Empire, they're jumping back and forth. Rello and Roth, they're going to try and spray this vehicle for all it's worth. Down goes Finna. Almost a second. Roth, though, runs out of ammo and unfortunate time. Almost gets spun around on, but no, it's Adam who falls. Michael with the seat swap. Before getting taken out, Rello's doing what he can with the long range, and wow, he just cleans up. Empire, yet another early game exit for them. We mentioned they've already qualified through, but I mean, you want to be starting off your evening a lot better than this. Once you get tilted, it's hard to untilt, and trust me, I know that better than most.
And you know when they watch back the VOD, they'll be like, the one bridge, one of the many bridges was being camped, and we picked that one. Sharp, he wants to get the res off on the shin. The Porter has been shut down to 3 tires now, as this is looking very risky for Jewel. That's the Porter with all the fun stuff. That's the fun Porter. That's the one with all the mortar shells. That's the one.
Just get the
mortar
mortar
they
out
want
now.
to bring it in. Yeah, bring it out now. Is backy.
Get the mortar. Start launching it onto 55's compound. They're all grouped up. Use it.
But at the same time, you guys are pretty stacked up as well for 55 Esports, as Trisk is using the discount DMR in that M16, looking off inside the distance. But Woolies with the discount DMR up in the distance as well will fire some shots back this way. And you know what the best thing about this is? Every other team is comfortably in the circle except for these two and Sam Crismo. Wooly, backflip, nah, fail.
He's
just
doing motocross at this point. It's a long story.
It's a long story.
It's a long story.
We have at least 2 hours of a broadcast. That's plenty of time.
Hey, it wasn't just Sparky.
No.
I was calling out everyone. Let's focus on the game right now, though. As Al-Qudsiya, they're going to be going for another spray. Roth gets the kill. Nicely done. As the rest of the squad, they're going to try and send it through, but to no avail. Down goes yet another. Al-Qudsiya, that's 6 points on the board now. Really nice to see from them in the early game, getting those kills. And, I mean, we knew the bridge camps were going to be a problem here, but I don't think we expected Al-Qudsiya to cause this much of a problem on this bridge. One that, you wouldn't expect many teams to end up taking.
Not only has an Empire fallen on this bridge, but we're about to lose a religion as well on Sam Crismo, as they will be the next one to attempt that crossing. Bestia, they're in a spot of trouble here inside the hills. We're trying to get the res off now, as Robert and Laucha will look to do some real damage onto this team. But Robert's a bit too far away, as is Bran. So you're leaving Laucha with a lot of work to do. Back on the other side of the map, up on Sharkfin at the very northern side, Balefrost is going to get caught out by the Doo-Doo Gladiator, as he will find that knock. And now the J-Sank with the barrel at the ready will get shut down by Dartek. And well, it's all down to XXXXXXXXXPPPPP for long. And he's going to find himself one on the Dartek. But look at the Doo-Doo Gladiator. He's sprinting around. They're hunting like a pack of wolves. And just like that, the Loganberry disciples are eliminated.
I was hyping this team up as well. When I saw the names that are on the squad, I'm like, yeah, this team is going to dominate. That's the second game where they unfortunately just have not. Unfortunate for them. As now, Bestia, they're going to try and make the best out of this after an unfortunate game one. It is good to see that, you know, there are some teams starting to show some consistency, even if that isn't in the way we would have hoped. Penta falls, he's going to hopefully get revived behind that crate, but Alcudia, they are just on a tear right now after those bridge camps. Hopefully they can get aggressive onto this one as well.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm hearing those shots. I'm not going crazy, right? I'm not the only one hearing suppressed fire. Well, we've got an AUG at the ready, but a taxi.
What are you on about? I can't hear anything. It's suppressed. Got you there.
Right. I'm just sad because I didn't think of it first as the zone shifts and it goes right on top of the position where we see Typhon.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one, this. I mean, not too many teams going to have to rotate too far, but it just feels like one of those pressure cooker situations that we always talk about where things are just slowly going to build in the center of the zone here until we finally get a hard shift away. So many teams are going to be forced to play this hillside. And a team like Alcudia, for instance, a squad that, you know, they started off really strong. They've got a lot of kill points on the board. They're going to have a very difficult rotate trying to thread the needle and find an entrance into this zone. As DraftKings having no problem landing a shot right there on the player running, gets over to cover, and now we're going to see this fight open up. It's a pretty long-range engagement, all things given.
Yeah, and you're spraying with that AUG as well. You're asking for a lot for those shots to land, but the benefit is you don't necessarily need to get too aggressive. You know, you can take these peaks, you can dip back into cover. If you get a knock, you have enough players up that you should be able to get the res. But here is Selfish. Speaking of res, we got our res team moving on by. The Spectro will keep on moving as he abandons him. Now Spectro's been shot out of his car as well. And you know what? I'm going to give the Spectro player. I think the Spectro is a top little player. I think he's a player to watch. He's obliterated me inside the server. I've been shut down by him. But guess what? I got the last laugh because he tried to molly me when I was down and mollied himself. Oh.
There's nothing better than that in PUBG when, you know, someone gets the best of you, but you've already got that nade cooked in hand, and they go over to loot your body, and they're just done. It makes you feel a whole lot better about the death that you just experienced.
Exactly. It's like dead man's hand as well whenever you've dropped the nade and they run on top of it instead of you flushing yourself out in that situation. Alcudia, though, 7 kills already after, you know, I'm not even going to say a minorly successful bridge camp. It was a highly successful one for them. And let's focus, though, on the last member of Safe for Res, as Andrew will let him go by first. Selfish might be the next one. Fire, but the terrain worked against Nzeke team there.
No, they were trying to get the jump on it, and if they managed to engage, you got to think they would have been able to finish it off. Safer Res, I mean, not so safe anymore. Should be able to rotate wide round the east right now, make his way into the circle. There's plenty of hard cover inside Yongcheon, but I'm not sure whether he's going to feel confident actually taking it. I think a lot of players, you know, in a circle like this would have assumed that, you know, the hard cover is taken. That's not the case this time. It looks like he's maybe just going to go all the way down to the coastline and play that instead. I got to say, 55 Esports have so much space down on the south right now. They are not going to be making any noise anytime soon. They're praying for that hard shift. Zinzeke, oh, nice shots from Andrew onto Rello, but not going to be able to confirm. And now, well, Alcudia, they've got a bit of a read. DIY's looking up to that kind of split-off player that they've got in the form of Vinny, playing that hillside. I like the positioning here from Nzeke. They do have one a little bit further forward to catch a bit of an off angle, but when that player's already spotted, you got to think he's going to be the first to fall if this engagement kicks off.
Yeah, we're getting ready for that shift as D will find a knock onto Vinny and flushes that one out real quick, and the circle does a shift. And look at that. All these teams to the north now need to migrate south for the winter to try and pick up some points. 55 are still chilling, but Chunks, I'm looking. You've got this compound in the center of the circle right here. As I'm going to bring up our little drawing tool that we've been given for the night. So this compound...
We've been told to draw, and we're both worried about using
it. And now it's gone. Now it's gone. Just as I started to use it.
I was going to say Gooners, they are right on the edge right now, trying their best to just get over the line, finish the job, but they've got a team to work through in the form of Typhon. That's one of those squads that have already qualified, so we know how confident they're able to be. DraftKings with an unfortunate spray not to land anything, but it's Doodoo Gladiator, the first to fall from AKA, followed by a second. Bessie are just absolutely cleaned up. Vinny going to try and follow it up with yet another, but it is not to be. As they managed to just about escape for the time being, but they are in no man's land, and they are just getting lit up by everyone. Down go AKA in 14th position. That's the first point in the game for Potentially Dangerous.
Yeah, Mian Huala will take himself out as Roth does a ton of damage. 8 kills might just be about to become 9 as they push up closer and closer to 10 points already, with still 12 teams alive. 5 kills for D now, 360 damage, so he's building his little tally on the hard work of others, but all that matters is the team point total, and Sam Crismo might be the next ones to taste some Al-Qudsiya led again, because of course they lost 2 to the bridge camp earlier on this map. But as we get ready for phase 4, you know, you're looking at some of the positions. If you have the map stream open, I think Al-Qudsiya might just be okay now, because cleaning up a lot of those players has bought them space.
I mean, yeah, they've somehow managed to put down enough rounds, make enough noise that teams are afraid to go around them, which is, I mean, good to see from them. They should be able to make a little bit of an entry into the zone, as they are just firing shots at the rotating players. There's not too much to worry about for them. It's quite long range, and now they've got a dip to work with. I expect things to slow down for a little bit. I don't think teams are going to get overly aggressive. I think it's going to be a lot of kind of pop shots with those DMRs instead, just trying to get a knock wherever you can. But right now, it's just going to be a bit of a waiting game, and I think that's what we have to deal with for the next 30 seconds. I say that, but we're seeing Mortarfire come out over on towards Snakers. I think they should have enough hard cover to work with here, but still, not something that you want to have that pressure of raining down next to you. It's Gooners, of course, that are using the Mortar, by the way.
It's, how would I put it? It's the strongest canvas I've ever seen that the mortar strikes are being stopped by it, but we get ready for the next shift, so all these pockets of space should be shut down now, and that's exactly what happens. A strong shift to the north as Bestia find themselves in prime position. LG will need to face a ton of fire now. Teams like 55 towards the south. The Inns team will move in as well, as Andrew and Selfish will look to take some ground. Rello was on the hunt, but just as I say that, Sam Crismo will look to play this valley. And I think this valley might be exactly where Al-Qudsiya might want to move as well. So I think it's a right decision to turn and go the other way. And Rello almost finds the knock.
Almost does. On the other side of things, though, Jewel, they tried to make a crash as well. They lose Sharp Shot in the push. I don't think they realized there was a squad over here that they had to try and navigate, but they are going to commit to this fight. K-Mind, he drove right past them. He's turned all the way around, but it's Shimboy that's going to be the one to get knocked first. As now the mortar fire starts to land through. Bully throwing out a Molotov, trying to connect with something, but he's being third-party now by Potentially Dangerous. That's going to be the end of Jewel. An unfortunate crash for them right there. As, well, that's not the way we expected things to go for a squad like Jewel. Yet another unfortunate performance. I mean, last game they made it in a lot later. They put down a lot of fire, but they've just not had that huge game that we were maybe hoping for out of them yet. We've still got 2 more maps to go after this one, so there's plenty of opportunity and plenty of teams that could potentially pop off. Again, though, we need to talk about LG. They had an amazing performance last game. They're still alive, and they're in a very good position, even only as a 3-man.
Yeah, I think that the position is great. They just need to win a few fights, because you'd assume that 55 will probably come this way. But if they win that fight, Chunks, they are looking nothing but forward in towards the circle. Gooners, 1 kill on the board for them. Not as many explosives as I'd expect. I'm looking at Icy. He's only got 1 nade. Icy, if you want to be a Gooner, you got to bring a lot more explosiveness than that one, as 55's Trisk will spot out Selfish on the way into the circle. Now they have a long rotate to go, but I think that their pathing is not actually the worst in the world. You know, going wide over towards the west. Yes, a lot of teams will take fire, but if you get in, if you find a spot, oh, that's not the spot. If you find a good spot, that's not it.
I thought they were actually going to crash into the same compound that Jewel just went into, which, I mean, it would have been the end of things right there. But no, they've managed to get a position. Whether it's the right position, only time will tell. I think, unfortunately, they are going to have to push out into the open sooner or later, though, and that's just going to be the end of them. It's unfortunate, but, you know, you never know. We've seen what squads are able to do with only 1 or 2 players left up. As in Zeke, well, they're going to be using a smoke for cover as Karak throws down an aid. That's got to be the end of Andrew. No, it's actually a little bit far back. It's going to be Selfish that gets caught with the damage instead, as Typhon only committing 1 player onto this. They want to keep that hard cover as long as they can, and I expect Karak to now move back as the zone shifts away. They're all going to be forced to make a move, and yeah, this is the fight we kind of expected when we saw Eamon push into that dip. They really had nothing else to do other than attempt to get across the road.
Yeah, and that road crossing is horrible. Like, it really is. You don't want to be the one to make it. The blue zone's going to be a bigger problem in the not-so-distant future, as that nade's going to get thrown up inside the smoke. Sam Crow will dodge the first one, steps behind the car, eats a headshot, and then will fall to the blue. Don't think he purposefully denied, but he stepped in and he fell anyway, as then the 11 teams becomes 10, but still, this team needs to get into the circle. We're looking at another side that's got to force their way in as well, as both Typhon are here, and the problem is everybody else is already there looking up this way, but we've got ourselves a compound crash here, Chunks. Al-Qudsiya pushing onto the Gunners.
This is going to be a tricky fight. These are teams that, I mean, we know Gunners, they are just going to take it with everything that they can. They are going to push in, getting a little heady onto Roth as he goes down. Now, Al-Qudsiya, they're not going to have that extra info they were maybe hoping for to be able to provide that cover, maybe get some back shots down range onto the Gunners. As Cowboy goes for the wrap, using the wall for cover, Icy going to be making the most out of that third person, looking through the doorway just to try and get a little opening, but he's going to be pressured from long range. The smoke's the only real form of cover here, preventing the push, and right at the same time, Al-Qudsiya make a push. Gunners decide to do the same. This is big from Goonshot as he spins round the side. Nice spray onto Cowboy. Not going to be enough to finish the job, but you got to think one nade will be the decider here. Goonshot moves back as DIY with a beautiful little frag takes down Bunt, and Inzeke also falling. They could potentially make it into placement point territory here. The frag comes down, connects onto DIY, but nowhere near as much as Icy Flex gets lit up right there. Gooners, they are in a very tricky position. It's an unfortunate fight to try and push. If they had just held back a second or two more, they might have been able to let Al-Qudsiya push onto it. I say that, but Icy flexing his magic takes down Cowboy, who ends up nading himself, flushing himself out of it. Relo goes for the flashbang, tries to peek round. Al-Qudsiya, they're already on 10 kills this game. They're looking to make it a nice number of 13, which is close to, I think it might be the same number that we saw LG get with their win last game.
Yeah, the 13 kills exactly for LG, but the job's not done yet as Relo peeks across and he gets a lot of damage onto Bunt, and that headshot will confirm it. It's all down to Gregory as Gregory peeks across the side. He almost gets one, but that's Al-Qudsiya hitting the 13 kills. And then they open up the point window with that one as well, as now we're inside the top 8. D will get knocked by Laucha, as we spoke about him being a problem a little bit earlier on, as just as Mixtall thought he could get more points, the blue zone was there to capture him. And now LG down to 2 players, as one is down on the knees, only 2 kills this time. They've got a hell of a pathing problem. You've got Typhon and Bestia fronting you up as Laucha looks to deal with Al-Qudsiya by himself.
He's doing what he can. I mean, it's not a terrible fight to be able to clean up off of. If you can get that final player, then you know that your whole eastern side is clear and you've got a lot of space to work with. Obviously, there's still plenty of squads down to the south that they need to be concerned of here. But as of right now, you know, trying to get that extra kill, second kill on the board, sneaking your way into that extra placement point territory, it all starts to have a huge effect. Every single kill that you're able to get when we get into this late game, it just, you know, it expedites how many points you're going to be able to gather in this match. Bestia, though, they've not got the best position. They're not inside of zone, but they've still got a lot of cover to work with. They're going to clear out their south, make sure that the zone is kind of on their back when they try and move in. Just they know they're not getting pushed from behind, as Relo, with the ghillie suit, manages to avoid LG spotting him. This could be tough here for Launcher.
Yeah, as LG finally make it into the circle. Oh no, Rello, he spots out the head with a level 3 helmet. It does give him that little bit of a safety vest. You know, you can take shots and be a bit more aggressive, but as a solo, it's all about decision making. I think he thought he was spot out. Yeah, a couple of quick shots and down will go Gats to his knees. Now sprinting across, but Vinny, no! Rello is busy at the moment. What are you getting involved for? He gets the point, wipes out Al-Qudsiya, and then there were 6. Quan, though, he's going to fall down to the blue. 6 becomes 5, and it might just be about to become 4, and it does, as another team will fall. It's a 4v3v3v3, as almost every team's got plenty of soldiers inside the game, but you look at the center circle, it is there for the pick and chunks. Nobody is on it. It's a very high ridge line, and if you pop your head up on top of it, it might just get cut off.
Oh, Gabriel putting in nice work to try and land those shots. It's not going to be enough as Mime closes in, pops his head up, gets caught again. It is becoming a bit of a mess over here, keeping track of exactly what's going on. As Bestia, they left it late to rotate into the zone, and now they are starting to get punished. Mime is the only player left up, but the question becomes now, can he get the revive with the pressure from not only potentially Dangerous, but now when you look at a squad like LG, they sent Voxic, I think, on a motorcycle behind to try and get an off angle. He does exactly that, catches a lot of damage, not able to confirm it, goes for the flush onto Vinny, still looking to try and find Mime, but he's just behind that cover. Mime using that third person to his advantage where he can, even though there may be a smoke in the way. Vox throws out the flash, and now LG, they are just swarming on. Mime is going to have to try and get out of dodge here and hope that these two teams get distracted by each other, and he might just be able to. I spoke too early, though, as he gets caught with fire, and now Robert up the hill, just going to punish him.
Yeah, Mime here moving, and you know, the nickname is Primetime Mime, but it might just be prime delivery of points here for Team Quesito as they start tossing utility this direction. He is inside the circle though, but looking towards the south, potentially Dangerous, getting fronted up now by LG, who are hunting a back-to-back chicken dinner, as Fosquito will peek up over that ridgeline. He's using the tree, using the cover to garner as much information as he can, and LG, they got to pick and choose their battles, and he spots them out. He knows exactly where 2 members are, but the blue zone is there. That's his trigger. That's the go button. He sprays. He gets one, but it's going to be too much to ask for to find another one. He will get knocked. The nade will find one onto Gats as well, Chunks. It's all down to Voxic. He gets one, but Luminosity falling fourth.
Fosquito maybe could have left it a little bit later there, and I know that the blue zone was on his back, but he did have that jammer pack. That could have made the difference if LG had assumed, oh, this tree must be clear now, he must have moved away. He maybe could have got the jump, but unfortunately, he took those shots. He was able to get a lot of damage, but unfortunately falls in the end, as now potentially Dangerous. 8 kills, showing just how dangerous they really can be as Brand starts to close in. They're going to try and clean up this fight, and that's exactly what they do. Beautiful end game, and an early one at that. 3 kills on the board for our winners, but it's Al-Qudsiya that steal the show with all of those stats, thanks in no small part to that bridge camp.
Yeah, 13 kills. They took down Empire. They did a ton of damage, and they got a few placement points. And Team Quesito showing that it is just, you know, it's the tortoise versus the hare. You don't need to get tons of kills to get a chicken dinner. 3 on the board, but that's 13 points. 13 points, Chunks. That's a massive amount of points. And with only a few games left to go tonight, and a few, you know, not too many to go overall over the weekend, that win could be the difference in qualification for the Masters and watching from home.
I mean, we keep harping on about it, but it's so true. When you're in these 8-game events, all it takes is 1 or 2 really strong games and you've made your way through. That's a great way to start. They just need to keep up that trajectory. We saw squads like Working in Silence last week who, yeah, they didn't take those early game engagements. They laid low until we got to like phase 4, phase 5. Then they started picking up the kills. Now he's just got to hope that this squad's able to do the same here. So we look back on that Al-Qudsiya fight. That was a rough one there for both teams to take, especially with the third parties that were waiting at the end, but really nice play. I mean, I know that they weren't on winners, but Alcudia, they stole the show. I'm not going to shut up about them now because I just love seeing a bridge camp and seeing it executed so well. That's where TPP really comes into its own. Using that hard cover, not exposing yourself until the time is right. And I mean, they just played the game perfectly.
Yeah, it was a really good game from them. You know, just playing the zone. Like, they were down numbers from an early point in the map. It could have been a, you know, at that point when you're down to 2, you're thinking maybe a couple of points, see what happens. But they got 13. Yes, potentially dangerous, and Alcudia just edged them out slightly with a few more points. But you know what? A win is a win, and they're right up there in 3rd as far as that match leaderboard. But it's the overall leaderboard I want to see, because we're halfway through the night, Chunks, already.
Time flies when you're having fun, and also when there's only 4 games in the evening. And so far, it's LG still holding firm in that first position. 32 points to start out after 2 games. That is no poor performance so far. Obviously, it's pretty close up at the top end of the leaderboard. I expect it to stay that way. If we look at what happened last week, there was only a couple of points between like 6th place and 10th place. And I mean, if these bottom teams are able to start picking up some more points, we've seen so many good squads down there, which I highly expect them to play well. It's going to be another set of close games, and sure, we've got a lead for now, but I don't expect that to stay for long. All it takes is one team from below 4th place, and that's going to completely shuffle up the leaderboard if they have a good game.
Look, if Empire get a 10-kill win, they go from last right up inside the top 4. That's the way PUBG kind of works in the early stages, and it's a surprise for me to see them at the bottom. And when you think about those teams in 16th, 15th, and you know, even Jewel up above, and Sam Criswell, you've got some star players there, Chunks, that are on the wrong side of the leaderboard at the halfway point of tonight. But that is Taego done and dusted for the night as we begin to cast our eyes a little further forward towards Rondo. So we're going to jump into a very quick break. I can tell you guys exactly at home, 2 minutes and 35 seconds from now, we'll be back on your screens. Welcome back into the PUBG Players Cup, and you guys don't need to know what we were talking about during that break as we had our producer in stitches laughing chunks, but you know what we're not laughing about? The performance of Luminosity so far.
No, it's been beast, hasn't it, Gibson?
It's been so good. What, 32 points, chunks, baby.
Anyway, we're going to be getting into the game soon anyway. So yeah, Luminosity, they've just been popping off so far. Really exciting set of games that we've had so far this evening. And I cannot wait to see what else is yet to come. We got Rondo coming up next, so prepare for Test Track. One thing that I will mention here is Falcons. They were taking Test Track. That was theirs. No one else really challenged them for it. That's now opened up, so it could be an interesting drop spot depending on the playing path.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you think about the fact that there's a lot of teams that have set drop spots. They're not here anymore. So who's going to take Test Track? We know that this is a map where it does like to, you know, gravitate towards Test Track. Like, we had a map in PAS that actually finished on the Test Track circuit. But we've got a flight path from north to south. No double flight path, so teams will be a little safer with their drop spots. We've got two teams jumping out of the plane very early, going, you know, by Ryan, a little forward toward Kunja. But I'm keeping an eye. Which team is going to go there? Is that Typhon? I'm trying to check. Is it Typhon or Gunners that are going for Test Track?
Why only one? Why not both? I mean, we've seen enough hot drops so far this evening, but why not just carry it on? Yeah, it looks like both teams, they're going to be going for Test Track. I think Typhon, they've maybe got the edge here over Gunners when it comes to the parachute. They might just be able to land a little bit earlier, but it all depends on how they decide to split up here. They could end up moving over to the factory instead.
So you see, you know, the extension out to... I'm going to do. You see the extension out towards here. Yeah, I'm using the draw tool because we can. You know, they're going to extend out here.
Because we were told to. We were so afraid of using it last week, weren't we? I don't think either of us were confident with our drawing.
Well, I'm a verbal descriptor, you know. Well,
Yeah.
Actually, did you see my performance in PAS in Pictionary? I am an excellent drawer of all things art. I really, really am. Now, speaking about rotation, I'm going to keep using the pen here for a second. Chunks, I'd like to see the rotate up here from the very south side from Res. You know, avoid all the traffic on the way through, you know, because if you try to push this way, you're going to run into really heavy traffic as you make your way in. So rotate all the way up that west. And I wouldn't be that mad if LG followed a similar path and tried to push in and go in from Phong Tun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of open space there, and I think a big part of it comes down to, are you paying attention to the drops when you're jumping out the plane? You know, a lot of the time, teams, they'll just focus on the squads that are dropping around them, but if you can get that info and think, okay, most of the teams end up dropping up to the north, we could potentially make our way, you know, around to the south here, it could be a good opening. I expect Al Qudsi, they're going to try and get the drop early, try and move central to this zone fairly early on, so that could potentially free up even more space down in the southwest that teams are able to play.
Yeah, and it's like at the early game, I always like to say that the start of the map, it's all about how you want to play the game. Some teams are going to go really center circle inside of phase 1, and they want to play the game from in to out. Whereas a lot of teams, they like to play from out to in for at least the first 2 phases. You know, get a real idea of where it's going to go. Because if you want to crash a compound or take a really good position, you want to make sure that not only that you will get there, but that you won't have to get out of there pretty soon after as well. As we have a little look, I love the fact you can load up the boot. Trunk.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the Americas. The trunk, I should say.
Yeah, just stop leaning into it. They can deal with our proper English if, you know, they're going to complain about it regardless of what we say. I remember the number of times I've said, oh, they've got an interesting route to zone, and everyone just starts roasting me. They just got to get over it.
Route. Come on, get it right.
Don't.
You're the only person here who speaks the Queen's English. I'm Irish. We know, like the English I speak. There's people watching this broadcast, and I've seen it before, who are like, "What language is this guy talking?"
Hey, I'm from Liverpool. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's the Queen's English. Anyway, potentially dangerous. They're going to be taking an early game fight here by the looks of things. Both teams opting to play the roofs, which, I mean, it's not a bad decision to make. It kind of adds that little bit of extra protection, but you do need to be careful. If someone is able to get down the bottom, and kind of sneak up on you, then you're wide open from below. It's going to be Sam Crow that opens up the fight onto Infinite Void, immediately gets the flush as well. Nicely done. There's, SLR shots nearly connecting as well. Infinite Void is down and out, potentially dangerous with a frag grenade. Going to be a little bit wide. I think it caught him with a tiny bit of splash damage, though, and they're going to back out of this one. I'm not too surprised. You don't want to be taking an early game fight for a compound at this stage of the game. At least most people don't. I say that. Look at DNL pushing in already. Yeah. This is interesting. It's almost like they're not backing out. Instead, they're just going for a bit of a split to get some off angles.
Yeah, they're flanking, but Gabri's got to be so careful because he's going to get spotted. He's got the Panzer at the ready. He wants to get up close and personal with the rest. And look at that. Fuscatao is on his way and he's getting chased down by Sam Crow and crew, but Shap should be able to hit shots, but no, he clicks empty on the AUG and he's going to get caught out. He clicked too soon and Fuscatao will find that knock. So things swinging back into the favor now of PD, who have the compound. The car pulls up. Gabri, though, he knows that he wants this target on the side. He's got DNL as his target and he hits it. Both players will fall, but it's a 2v2.
That is a Gibson play if I've ever seen one right there. Taking out a player right after you get knocked. Beautifully done. As Sam Crimsmo going to try and close in to finish off the job. We got yet another Panzer. Surely he can finish off the job with this. Is he just going to open that door and then pop the Panzer out? I think he might, and it works. Down he goes. The more Panzers, the better. I think that's what the third Panzer play we've seen this game is potentially dangerous. They go out in 16th position, and they've been able to clean up and should be able to get all the revives, but they do need to be careful as there are more squads around. Yet again, everyone has just gone dead center inside this circle. I would expect a lot of early game engagements.
Yeah, the PD getting no points off of that at all. They don't, because it's Tony who gets that kill from Typhon as it comes from a little bit further away. As here comes the crash. So there's Psycho. He steps across the road, but Angel will make sure he is fallen. Tony steps up as well, but Angel drops down to 3 ammos. So he's going to toss the stun grenade. There's a great nade from Kerak, but Sam Crismo, they're eliminated. They fall shortly after that one as Typhon are able to pick up those points as Jewel will spot everybody else rotating into the circle around them. But you said everybody moves center. It's that lovely inverse donut that I spoke about, Chunks, where everybody goes into the center and it leaves loads of free space at the edge.
Speaking of edge, we got Gunas, Bunt Streams, waiting to take those shots, not choosing to engage just yet. But is definitely going to be calling that out to the team. It looks like we've got yet another squad moving into this fight. It's a Typhon. They really need to start focusing the revives, but they're going to cover the edges of the buildings instead, just trying to prevent anyone from flanking round onto them. Molotov comes through. It's not going to be enough to get the flush and steal that point away just yet, but I think it's looking very unlikely that Psycho's going to be able to get that player back up. Tony should be able to get back into it, but as these frags come through, there's going to be a hell of a lot of pressure onto them.
Ira Lata Camarello is on the prowl, hoping to pick up the last 3 members of Typhon as we got ourselves some Latam on Latam violence, and Vixen will be the first one to find the knock. Psycho will fall, and that leaves it all down to Tony. He's inside with the AUG. A 2x is his weapon of choice, but the numbers are just against him. He's going to dip inside the corner. They know exactly what room he's in, but Kerak was able to step around. They forgot about him on the other side, and he sprints through and finds that knock and instant flush. Now he's under pressure from Enzito here. Chunks and Tony, he'll get into cover.
That was a really difficult position right there as he got spotted out just as he went for the reload. Thought it was clear, and right as he pressed that reload button, he had to run back inside, getting tagged up a little bit. Carax goes down though, and so do the rest of Typhon. Messy early game fights here in the center of the zone just for this one compound. That's what 3 teams that have fallen in it now. As Empire, well, they're looking to have a bit of a better start to the game, getting on the hillside, trying to take that engagement. They've had a rough start so far this evening, not able to pick up too many points, but with a squad like this, I'm sure they're looking to turn that round very quickly.
Yeah, just go get the res off, find somewhere to play, because that shouldn't be a problem. There's so much free space around the circle as we look at AKA, who are just north of the center, also known as, yeah, you normally hear that, don't you, chat, and you think that there's going to be something said after, but no, they're just called also known as.
I'm waiting.
also known as.
Loganberry Disciples with the glider. There's always one. We saw it from Alcudia over on our Miramar game. Now we are seeing it in Taego, and I love this. I mean, I know the glider is one of those things where people are like, it's useless. It's you know, what's the point? You can gather a lot of info from it because ultimately you've not got great cover. You're probably going to get shot down, but at least you can figure out where those shots are coming from. And if you're lucky, even seat swap, throw a grenade down.
Chunks, you want to know something though about that team? There's an imposter on that team.
What?
That Balefrost is not actually Balefrost.
You have blown my mind here.
You want to know who it is?
Can we reveal who it is?
It's Chubba.
Oh, that explains why Bale has been performing so poorly.
Wow. I thought you were going to say that would explain why there's an extra T at the end of the name, but you had to go there. Yeah, it's Chubba. You can thank one of the org owners for that.
Lately. You were asking about the sparking stuff, about the Tiggleton stuff. I've just been clip farming, all right? I get that engagement up.
Chubba's literally there going, who the hell has exposed me? Yeah.
Well, 55. They're exposing themselves to Alcudia, and they might just regret it. It's DIY. With a nice little seat swap, catches a lot of damage. Not going to be able to finish the job, but Roth certainly does. H11 out, and no chance of getting revived. He's going to be getting flushed out too. Alcudia, they started off the last game aggressively. They're looking to keep that momentum going as they pick up their second kill point of the game now.
Yeah, and Alcudia, they've been farming kills all day long, but now it's Jewel. Sharp shot with 1 kill, but he's been knocked as they try to deal with AKA. Wooly stepping up with that MG, and K-Mine's going to get absolutely obliterated by the Doo-Doo Gladiator. But traded back the other way. Shinboy confirms out that knock, and they're going to go for res. So, 47 players up. The rest of the members of AKA are a little too far away, so we're getting to watch some parkour here as he gets up on top of that roof. But you've given up those 2 players, and, well, here's Empire. Pick one of these. Don't crash both these teams. Pick one of them to crash. And it looks like they've picked up on Jewel.
Oh, but Jewel losing sharp shot as he tried to peek out with the M249 to take those vehicles down low. It's not going to work out as Adam now has a bit of an off angle. Jewel are really surrounded here. It is just going to be util heaven here for Empire. We've seen how effectively they're able to use it as they're throwing in the Molotovs, throwing in the grenades, everything they can to try and put that pressure on, burn through those meds, take those players down low, and ultimately, if they're able to, get a knockout of it. Adam getting ready to crest over the top. It works out as he takes down K-Mind. Going to be forced to close in the distance earlier after the third party, but Shimboy is ready for it. Only Wooly and Shimboy left up. Not for long at this rate, though, with how quickly these grenades are coming through. Shimboy falls, Wooly follows, and it's Empire finally picking up some points for this game, but oh no, they're getting third-partied immediately.
Yeah, why not? There's very little, really good compounds in the center of the circle, so let's get ourselves a 5th, 4th, 5th, why not even 6th party later on as Finna won't even find one. Andrew's going to find that knock, and, well, just like that, it's all down to Michael. But does he have some magic? The Geordie looking to do some damage here, and the best thing is, while all this was going on, AKA are having a right little giggle on the other side, because they were the ones that were almost wiped by Empire, and now they can see the Empire falling from afar.
Michael's going to do his best Valiant impression right now, try and escape and sneak his way in through these circles, but as we mentioned earlier, there's so much pressure in the center of the zone. There's not really too much space that he's going to be able to move into freely. Gooners, they're going to be caught in a bit of an engagement. Not too much to worry about for them. I say that right as Greg's shot falls. There's only 2 players from AKA, but they are putting in work in this compound. They want to try and equal out the fight as soon as they can, and that's going to be made a whole lot easier as Seesock goes down to Varus. Only 2 Gooners left up now.
Yeah, this is not going well for Gooners as Jube and Dartek doing a great job of holding the compound. The smoke will begin to dissipate soon, opening up an avenue of a line of sight in towards this spot. But with Dartex holding the low ground and Jube holding the high, this is a recipe for success for these 2 players, provided that a third party doesn't come in, as we see LG pulling up not too far away. But I think for the Gunners, they've done the right thing. They've got everybody back on their feet, making sure that nobody has prematurely evacuated the lobby, and they'll be able to hopefully pick up a couple more points in this fight against AKA.
And AKA, they're going to be trying to salvage any points that they can right now. Not a single one on the board, and they are a long way from placement. Whoever the hell that is with the Molotov, though, with the mortar, I should say, I absolutely love this. Just cause even more of a problem for these teams. They're all struggling in this position. There's so much pressure on them. The circle is centered up, so why not force them into their compound, force them to keep their heads down, and hope that as the game progresses and they're actually forced to fight, you'll have a bit of a better angle to be able to third party onto it.
Mime on the high ground. You know, we spoke about the impact he can have, and the foliage here not quite as strong as it used to be, but you've got plenty of ammo. Look, he's got 126 rounds in reserve that he can continue dealing in. I think Mime, he's just going to go secure this vehicle for Bestia for later on if they need to rotate. So this is a smart bit of play from Mime, making sure that if this zone shifts away, the team have a way to move further forward. Looking at the map, every team, Chunks, is inside the circle. The only two players who aren't in it is Bran and the Balefrost imposter.
Who? I thought we're talking. Are we saying Bale now? Or are we saying Chubba? This is going to get really confusing when it comes time to actually
the imposter.
Yeah,
I said the imposter.
We'll just go by the imposter right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. Some of these live server names, man, it's infuriating. And I think we've dealt with that so far, not only this week but last as well. As things start to slow down. Lots of long range shots coming through. Everyone being a little bit cautious about it, kind of waiting for that circle to close in and see where it's going to pop, because ultimately there's a lot of high ground and a lot of open low ground that teams are going to be forced to navigate when we get into that next circle.
Yeah, I think that this circle though could be crucial for some of these teams. Like if it goes south, a couple of these teams are going to be gifted as they're a little bit further north of Yulin. They've got their positions on lock. Everybody's just kind of waiting to see where we go from here. Mime, got to be careful he doesn't get spotted out, as XP ain't too far away with that MG at the ready, and Chunks, it goes a little bit towards the east. So this battle that we see Empire, AKA, and Gunners on is going to last a little bit longer.
We've still got one little building that's unoccupied as well. How quickly do we reckon a team is going to take that?
I think these teams I think one of these teams that are on the west will likely go for it.
That's just going to be an amazing fight to try and watch. Okay, Bestia parachuting in. DraftKings takes down our Balefrost imposter. Silza nearly goes down to full damage as Alcutia and Logan Berry both getting a lot of work in here. XP takes down Sills and flushes it out. I think that's only DraftKings left up here for Bestia. I don't think there's much chance of getting the revive onto Mime as they're already covering that angle. J-Sank throws out a nade onto DraftKings. Not quite close enough. Oh, it was actually a lot closer than I thought. Takes him down to next to no HP. If he lands one more frag like that, it's going to be over for DraftKings. And that it is. Bestia out in 12th position. Still a lot of progress they need to make over on this western side to actually get into a strong position, though.
Yeah, the J-Sank managing to clutch that one out. And now they've got a long ways to go here, Chunks. But Bestia did give them a vehicle that they can use to get mobile. Looking elsewhere, Resmi, they've got Al-Qudsiya not too far away, and Roth's got to be really careful he's not caught out. The one benefit of the E-Bus is the fact that it's so quiet. It keeps you hidden from the enemies on the rotating. Oh, I'm still looking. This fight is still not really kicked off again in the center of the circle. They're all watching each other's backs.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame them at this point? It's such an open circle. Nobody really wants to overexpose themselves while that high ground's still in, especially those players that are inside the compound. If they try and take a fight by pushing on the buildings, they're just going to get third party. So I'd expect these compound teams, they're just going to wait it out, hope that they don't get crashed, and try and keep their heads down. Look at how many bodies there are. There's plenty of loot that they're going to be able to gather, so they don't really need to worry too much about running out of ammo.
Yeah, XP's going to get taken down, and the J-Sank now riding it on in, but he's going to fall to the blue. 10 teams left alive now, as that frees up a little bit more space for Nzeke team, as they have got this section of the map on lock. You got to get that vehicle on the move, though. Keep those tires fresh, as Team Quesito fresh off the back of victory in game number 2. They're playing a wide split here, Chunks. It's a 2-1-1. They've got all of this eastern side to themselves. I'm actually a fan. I think the way they're playing and the land grab they've done, it screams to me that they've got a little bit of confidence off the back of that win.
And they're going to have a really good opening into this net circle now. They can move down to the south, potentially try and take this crash. I'm not sure what the terrain looks like in this area, whether that is a little ridge on the north side of the road that they're going to be able to play. But I think that they will at least be able to find an entrance if there is a ridge there. As AKA, well, they're going to be forced to try and defend from the northern side now. Still got 2 squads up there to try and make their way in. Granted, Empire are weakened, and I wouldn't expect Nzeke to push in ultra aggressively to this when they can go for a wrap instead. Luminosity, though, they're showing some aggression early, trying to catch Alcudzia on the rotate. They take down Roth and nearly follow it up onto Rello, as they're going to be in a pretty tricky position. This is the kind of time where we want to see those mortar shots.
Yeah, but who has one? Like, who's got a mortar at the ready? They're in a shack now. The shack's just about inside the circle for now, so they'll hold that position. LG, top of the table, 32 points, make it 33 now after that point that was garnered by Voxic a little earlier on. Huh?
Sorry, I couldn't help but notice Nzeke just team killed. What's going on there?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened.
Okay, they're just gathering utility, is that it?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
I mean, that's what I do when my teammates don't drop me ammo. It's that last mag. Blew up.
Yeah, look, I've never killed a teammate on purpose, ever. I
You've
lie.
not played
Mike.
EU random squads, have you?
Oh, look at the patience from Michael. Look at the patience. He's solo. He knows that if he gives away his position. No, this is great. I'm actually a huge fan of what he's done. He's played patient. Uh-oh, here we go. They didn't even fire him. Oh, no. And look at that. These 2 cars are making baby cars as well. Oh,
and look at all these nades coming in as well. That is a huge frag right there from Varus, getting, what, 3-4 players with that? Absolutely massive. That is the kind of send that we like to see. But yeah, we were talking about Michael. This is like his absolute best Valiate impression. Sneak in until that final second, and then I'm sure he's going to pounce when the time is right. As soon as AKA start taking this engagement further down to the south. I'm surprised that we still see Gooners up here. They've still got 2 players anchoring up to the north, making sure that nobody's going to be able to peek in behind them when they're not expecting it. But it looks like Michael could actually try and play out of the building here and run out across rather than trying to take the fight head on. But at least for now, he's happy. That zone's creeping in on his back, though. So now he's forced out into the blue. I think I see a jammer pack on him, so this could be very useful as Icy Flex decides to enter with the frag. Nice little headshot. Bunt finishes off the job, and it's Gooners making it into 7th place.
I see what you did there, and I like it. I'm a fan of that. I hope you realize what you did as well, as Michael pops the first in, realizes he might not get any more points. So the Gilly in the mist, he gets his one. He'll fall an Empire. Well, you know what? That'll move them up that leaderboard quite significantly with those points and that placement, because of course they were at the bottom with only 1 sole point. So that'll certainly help them as they want to get inside the top 8. Remember, they're already qualified for next weekend, so they don't really need to get all these points. They're just playing for that extra bit of prize pool. I'm looking at this.
I've got to say, as impressive as that play was from Michael, that's really got to rub Gooners the wrong way. Losing a player like that, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, but you got to be used to it. Like, these things happen. I'm a little bit worried, though, for Alcudzia here, Chunks. Like, they've got a really rough rotate in now because the tires have been popped on their vehicles. LG have got eyes on. This is rough.
It really is. Voxic, oh, nice little single shot onto Goon shot right there. Not able to take him down, but still applying that pressure. They've got a pretty good entry into zone here. Already got 2 players anchoring up on the ridgeline. They just need to try and deal with Alcudzia, who, I mean, they're not going to be a threat for too much longer, you have to imagine. They've not got much cover to work with. I think they've got a vehicle on the back that they could try and rotate with, but they're actually just all going to deny to zone, which is that's... I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether that's the play I would have made there. I think when you've got 3 players, it's worth at least trying to send it.
I just don't think they could. You know, I can't actually argue with it, Chunks, because they had 0 path. You had LG holding them. You had Resme to the south. It was nothing but open ground. They had nothing else really to do from that position. Resme now find themselves in that exact same position that we just saw Al Qudsi in, where they're going to get cut to shreds on the rotate in. LG in such a good position to try take this win now with that ridgeline that's all theirs to play. And as we said earlier, the kills should come to them.
And it certainly seems like kills are going to be coming thick and fast as we get into this phase 6. It closes in. I mean, right now, the rotations, they're going to cause a problem for any teams trying to make it in, but everyone else is really settled up. We see LG, they're able to take down Goonshot, as I'd be surprised if Gooners are going to be able to make it in much further. They've been stuck in this compound for a while. I don't think they have any vehicles to try and make a move with. Oh, no, they do have one. So they could try and make it a bit of a send, but right now I think it's just about making noise, trying to get LG distracted by those teams further down to the south. But they've got such a strong ridgeline to work out of. I can't imagine them overcommitting here, and I don't see LG making a move anytime soon.
Nah, they don't need to. They're loving life here up on the northwest. The south is where it's all at. As Spectro, the last player for Resme standing. And, well, just as I say it, Gats will find the hell's headshot as LG get kill number 4 in this 4v4v3v2 scenario to close things off. This game was, you know, the original version of, you know, the Battle Royale was called King of the Hill. There's only one hill inside this circle, and the Kings are on top. 32 points going into this map. And, well, it's going to take one hell of a barrage and assault to take the crown from them in this map.
Just calling in that little bit of extra cover, just in case they didn't have enough on this hillside. They just thought they'd grab a little bit more from those bollards. As now, later, got to try and make their entrance in with only 2 players. And, well, they've got a squad that have put down some really consistent performances tonight. Sure, they only got 13 points in the last game, but now making it into the top 4 again with considerably more kills after those frag grenades earlier. Got to be looking strong for them in terms of consistency, and it goes a long way in a format like this. Launcher takes down one as Gooners try and make a move. Losing a second, there's only going to be 1 player left up. It's T-Sock, and he's just getting caught with a red zone coming out from LG right now. We talked last week about teams using that util and some being better than others, and that's a prime example of how to use it from LG.
Yeah, and here we go. Team Quesito in the top 4 now. Look, in the top 3, I should say, as they move on in. Laucha been really impressive, and they just about get themselves inside the zone. Now Vox sprints through the open. Laucha just needs to land one more, but Vox will get into cover, and that was almost a knock. That was maybe an opportunity lost here for Quesito over on the other side. Vera Lata Camarello, though, once the smoke wall dissipates, they might just find themselves in a spot of trouble. And Enzito has got the eye. He knows exactly where LG are. Maybe he's able to get a knock. Spots him, but oh, he doesn't want to be over-aggressive with the peak here, Chunks.
No, the last thing you want to do is overexpose yourself in a position like this. They are very open to both teams. All it takes is you to engage one, and then the other squad is going to third party. That's exactly what happens as they try and take the shots onto Gats. Just getting completely lit up here. The smoke is the only real form of cover as Brad actually goes down to the zone. Not sure whether that was an accident, whether he was trying to grab some loot off a dead body, but that's going to be an extra knock they have to worry about. You got to bear in mind as well, each one of these knocks, sure, if you're able to get the player up, all well and good. That next time they get knocked, though, they're going to bleed out a whole lot sooner. And when you get to the end game, a lot of these players have already been taken down once or twice. So it's going to be tricky for them. As the circle, I mean, it's centered up. Everyone is relatively comfortable in their positions, but it is going to be Team Quesito that have to find that open. And they've not got much to make it work with one smoke grenade in the hand of Varas. And I think they're just going to have to rely on them to try and get over to this next ridgeline.
Yeah, the question is how many smokes the team have? How many have they utilized already? This is the last one for Varas as he gives himself the opportunity to move, and he spots out Vera Lata Caramelo on the other side. And they're a little stuck for option 2. You got to pop those tires, Varus, but no, the opportunities more so to rotate across. And Vera Lata, now the only team that are really not inside, you know. You see, Enzito, when he gets just a little further up the rock, I think he's just about far enough inside the circle that he's not going to take damage.
Barely. And this is the key thing in a circle like this. If you can just about creep your way to the very edge, it's better than nothing. Right now, it's almost like a game of, okay, who can LG knock out first? Who can we out-survive here? And it looks like LG, they are just so confident. One thing I will say, and we talk about it quite often, look at that utility. Look at the amount of ammo that LG actually have left. Most of them have less than a clip in reserve, so they need to be a little bit careful with how they're going to take these fights. Plenty of meds, plenty of nades to work with, which, sure, that's great in an end game like this, and they're starting to use them effectively, forcing them out from the rocks. This could actually be huge here if Bizzler can land the shots. Takes down one, looks for a second, but the shield is going to be there for a little bit of extra cover. Bran also taking some damage. It looks like they should be back up to a 4-man, but LG just being very careful about how they use this util, and equally just as effective. Nicely done from Vox and Gats, as well. It's only Robert left up, and that shield has disappeared.
It was an airstrike. It was just an airstrike from LG as they've dumped all their util onto this position. Flank now coming in. It's all down to Robert. He throws the nade from the side, and now the fire coming in from Vera Lata will hold Vox in position, but great headshot from Bizzler working with Vox, and Vox is nearly out of ammo here, Chunks. He's only got one magazine left inside the back pocket, and while all that was going on, all the Team Casino players might just be about to, know the blue zone. It's moving too fast. The center zone is in position. Utility being dumped. This is still anybody's game, Chunks.
Look at Bizzler. He just dropped his long-range weapon just so he could get up to 17 bullets in his AUG. Voxic, he went for the spray as well. That burned through a lot of ammo that could have been very important going into this fight. As now, VLC, going out to zone by the looks of things, trying to deny the points. It's Bizzler who falls. LG still 2 players up top as Gats takes down Varus. There's only going to be Robert left up. He's out in the blue. Not sure whether he's intentionally denying to zone, but he's taken a lot of damage, and in the end, he falls to the play zone. And it's LG with their second win of the night, a 20-point game. That's going to solidify them at least in the top 8, you have to think now. That might be them qualified already. Granted, they can still keep going, keep progressing, and cause other teams a headache.
Well, that's 52 points. You know, they're on 52 points after just three maps. So there, as you said, pretty much qualified through. But it all comes down to that conversation that I had with Gats earlier on this week. We were talking, he said that LG are taking this serious. There's was it $139,000 or $129,000 up for grabs this year inside of the Americas for this event. They've realized this is a great opportunity for them to make some good money playing PUBG this year, win all these events, and they feel it's there for the taking. They think they can own this, and they're showing today that they are 100% capable of doing so.
And they need to show it today. After their performance last week, it was unfortunate. They missed out by literally 1 point. 1 point would have qualified them in that first week. But now they're taking it seriously. They're going to do it again. They're going to keep this momentum up. And LG, they're one of those squads where once they start, it's hard to stop them.
Yeah, I think so. And we saw they will look. I spoke to them as well about PAS. If there was another couple of maps in PAS, or if they had have started better on day one, they could have made the top 4. They were so close on that final day performance. This team has huge days in the pocket, so we know they can do it against the best of the past. But Chunks, having a little look at the points on that one, it jumps from 20 to 10 and then 9 to 6. And you look at that other side of the leaderboard, 55 and PD weren't able to pick up any points in that game. And I still think PD were unlucky. Like, when you consider that early game fight, they got 3 knocks onto Sam Crismo, and they just couldn't get the job done. And then, like 20 seconds later, Sam Crismo were wiped out as well.
It was such a messy game, that one. I think for a lot of teams, it's just a complete write-off when you see, how many squads were pushing a single compound in that early game. Granted, it ended up working for the ones that were able to survive, but I mean, yeah, I think you can write that off for 3 or 4 teams and just say, okay, we try again in the next one. We're going back to Erangel. Everyone's going to be familiar with it, but LG, 52 points. Team Casiso, though, really impressed me. You know, they didn't have the best first game. Second game, they didn't get a huge number of kills, but it shows that as long as you find that balance, you can get those placement points consistently. Kills don't matter quite as much, and that's really impressive from them. On the inverse to that, Alcudia, they've only got 3 placement points. They're in 3rd place with 26.
It's like the 2 different ways to get into the top 3. The Team Quesito way of just surviving and picking up 1 or 2 kills, and you got the Alcudia way, which is just shoot everything that moves. Did I just do that? Okay, never mind. Chunks, save me from that little bit of cringe.
Oh no, we're just gonna appreciate that for a minute. Okay.
No.
Anyway, look, Alcudia, let's see another bridge camp. We're going to Erangel. I just want a military circle. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling that it might happen. And if that happens, I want to see Alcudia with another bridge camp. I want to see more bridge camps because they cause mayhem. We saw that in our Taego game. I just want to see more of it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not against it. But you know what we're going to do, chat? We're going to go into a quick break. While we're on that break, I want you all to manifest it. Give us a Millie or a Zarky circle.
I'll take a Milta circle. I like a Milta power circle.
Yeah, that'd be good too. But go ahead, manifest it, chat, and get hydrated. We'll be back in about 2 minutes and 35 seconds. We'll see you then.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Every time I close my eyes.
And we are back for the final map of the PUBG Players Cup. 1 game to go, 1 Erangel, and it just seems as though we're just getting started, Chunks, and this is the final map of the night.
Hey, it's a short format, 4 games, 1 on each map. It is just rapid fire. We're back tomorrow though, same time, same place, same format. Unfortunately, you know, Gibson, he's bailing on us. He for some reason thinks that real life comes before esports, which I'll just never understand. But we're going to be joined by Xenox. It'll be a fun evening, of course. And yeah, 1 game left to go this evening. It's going to be on Erangel, familiar territory for everyone. So I'm just excited to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Look, Erangel's my favorite map. It always has been. The pacing of that map has changed a lot, Chunks, in the last 12 months. Like in the past, you would say that, you know, Miramar was this map that was always a building crescendo. Like, if you were to look at a graph of the kills, it'd just be the steady upward progression. Whereas I feel like in the last, you know, Miramar was, or like Erangel was always kind of, you know, like this. Now Erangel's just like all over the place. Like, we're seeing phase 3s with so many players dead already, and I am all for it. But Chunks, the flight path, you said that you wanted a melee circle. Well, this flight path certainly has put that on the cards.
I'll take a fairy pier split. I love those.
You're
I think,
a masochist.
Am I right in thinking we actually saw one of those last week where it was like melee fairy split for a little bit and then it just kept shifting up to the north? I love that one. I want to see another one of those. Look, I know the players hate on me for it, but I just love the mayhem. And I know that there's the boring people out there that say, oh, I just want to see like a structured game of PUBG. That's boring. I want to see them go through hell. That's the point in this. We're testing them. We want to see, you know, when they're in the worst position possible, how do they respond? And it's only sometimes in getting those difficult circles that we really see who is the best at adapting. And that's what PUBG's all about.
Yeah, 100%. And then, you know, the only thing I will say about this map is I'd say LG are having they're having PTSD thinking about that Crossroads finish that we had last week where they got denied. Like, a denial cost them. Oh, okay, there you go. There's your split. Millie Island down towards Primo. Yeah. Chunks, I'm no mathematician. I'm an accountant. However, I'm going to say at least 55 to 60% of the circle is water. This is a phase 2 circle in phase 1, and you could even argue it's phase 3 if you cut off that section of Military Island as well.
I don't know why. I've made a prediction about Millie. I'm going to make another one, and it's probably not going to come true. But for me, whenever I see these kind of Prim circles, it feels like it just goes to Prim, and it goes south again, and it goes south again, until at the very end, we end up on that little road just the north of Primorsk. And that's what I kind of hope to see as Empire. Oh, they did well last game. They managed to make it in late. They got a couple of kills, but they're unfortunately going back to form from earlier this evening.
Chunks, if it's my last game of the night and I'm getting rolled up on in a UAZ getting drive-by'd by an S12K shotgun, I'm done. I'm done. Like,
I mean, he is done. Yeah, he's finished for the evening now. We'll see if he comes back tomorrow after that one.
You should have said he was finished.
I always miss the good puns, and then I'm too focused on making Guna puns. You need to give us more valiant efforts. See? You can tell why you're the pro, Gibson, and I'm retired.
Well, you being here would be very counterintuitive to the fact that you said you're retired, because, like, you wouldn't be here if you were.
Yeah, but you could say that for half the lobby, right? I mean, half the lobby have retired at one point. Are they still retired?
Usually when people say something's the Masters, don't they usually mean it's like the senior version of the sport? Like, it's where the over 40s, over 50s play. The Masters is next week. We're going to have some of the old heads playing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a fun one if they can actually make it through, because there's a lot of old heads in here that maybe thought, hey, these guys were around in TPP comp. They made their names in TPP comp. What's going on here?
It is next weekend, right? My calendar's not wrong. The Masters next weekend.
I hope not, because I've got family visiting. I hope I haven't made a huge mistake with my calendar. I think it's the weekend after.
I need to double check, but if it is next weekend, you're going to have the Masters and the Masters on the same week. Shout out to all you golf fans out there as potentially dangerous.
It is next weekend. Oh, that's good.
So it's the Masters and the Masters. Let's go.
Oh, I'm going to be tired. My family are coming at 10 a.m. on the Sunday. Oh, fun.
Is it your family or the wife's family?
It's my family. Oh, God.
That's worse. You can't even be like, oh, you know, I can't hang out with you guys because I'm working. No, it's your family, so you got to hang out with them.
Hey, can we all just agree, let's blame J Bowler?
Yeah. But not the real J Bowler, the other J Bowler in chat who's like the imposter J.
Yeah, sure.
You know the other J in chat?
Yeah, I'm blaming the real J Bowler.
There's a fake Michael in chat as well all the time. If you ever see there's another Michael out there in chat, and everybody always mistakes him for the real Michael.
There's so many fakes out here. We're the only real ones here, Gibson.
Yeah, we're the real ones. So yeah, confirmation that the Masters is on next weekend, 11th to 13th. The top 8 teams from last week, which are basically all the teams that have been qualified through to the PGSs that are coming up. So it's a pretty stacked lobby for all you viewers at home. We are trying to determine who the other 8 teams joining them will be, and looking like one of the teams that we were watching there, LG, will definitely be in that top 8. And they've got themselves a long rotate. They're a long ways from zone.
Yeah, it is a long, long way to go for some of these squads right now, especially a squad like Al-Quds that are all the way up in Kameshki right now. They have a long rotate ahead of them. And I think a lot of these compounds over in the center are just going to be, preoccupied early. I'd expect to see a lot of early game fighting, especially around Ferry Pier. This is something that we've seen last week where so many squads tried to push into 1 or 2 positions very early on, and it just ended up going horribly wrong for them.
Yeah, Team KC2, things are going pretty well for them as far as zone, the way they're playing the macro part of the game, as they've been getting tons of points on the board. Jewel grabbing this compound. I think Sharp made just about enough noise to send them on their merry way. No crash here just yet, Chunks. And did I just see Sam Crismo cross the bridge towards Millie to get an E-pick up into the circle?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I was trying to find a cover for Sunday. But anyway, Duel, they're going to be losing a player early right there to the J-Sank. Is that better, Gibson? You happy now?
Yeah, that's the way. That's the way it is.
As potentially dangerous, they are already posted up in Ferry Pier here now, up against Siphon. Again, the team that has already qualified through to the Masters, as they are really playing for pride right now and playing for a little bit of cash. They don't have too much to worry about. As a nice spray comes through for Gabriel to take down 1. Ferry Pier is going to be hotly contested early on, and yes, we are seeing that emergency pickup.
Yeah, that E-pick. Yeah, it's a strange one, but I guess they must have a plan of either full sending it in towards Primo or grabbing a compound, because there were other options available for them. But they're the pros. We're not. Let's see what Team Casino do. Robert with that mortar at the ready. And I'm looking, is it the Gunners that he's targeting? You'd certainly think so. He's lined it up for 197 meters away. So there's something just on that 200-point mark, because here comes Sam Crismo, that E-pickup. I said they're pros, they know better than us, and that's exactly what they do. There is the first knock and flush on the Tony, as they secure themselves this lovely little compound by Ferry Pier. And that's a nice spot for them for the next while.
It certainly is. They've got a nice bit of high ground to work out of as well. You've got to be careful, because obviously I'd expect more emergency pickups to maybe come through, especially if a team like Al-Quds have one who was so far away. They're actually already in the blue now. They have a long rotation ahead of them. Equally, LG, they're a squad that are a long way outside of zone that have a big rotate to try and navigate. This could be big, though. I love seeing the mortars in play. That's exactly what we're getting right now. Gooners could be in a little bit of trouble as they're going to start adjusting those shots. That was already a close one. Splash damage lands down. Might be enough to take down Greg for a second time. As now, Robert trying to find that angle as the rest of the team close up a little bit. This is a different side of Team Quesito right now. As the last few games, we've seen them play a little bit slower in the early game and then get aggressive towards the end.
Yeah, D here on the bridge by the blue. You said you wanted some bridge camping. Well, you might just get your wishes, your command, as Roth will find a knock onto Mianhua. And that'll be another point for Al-Quds, who've been playing rock and roll PUBG all day long. The set doesn't last long, but certainly the points they get from the kills will do, as D is by the bridge once more. And I feel like for Resme, it's just been a rough day. They've been caught out in rotation time and time again.
Yeah, it's been brutal. I mean, unfortunately, this is the way it goes sometimes, especially in these short format events where we're only doing one of each map per day, you don't have that time to adjust. You know, if we'd seen, for instance, 2 of the same map, they could have been like, okay, a team bridge camped us last time, let's adjust. We might see that tomorrow. We might just think, hey, it's fresh day, we'll try the same thing again, see if it works any better. But they're a long way outside of zone now. They've got a tough rotation to make in. Thankfully, that north side is clear, and I'm happy that my prediction stood true, and we have pulled further down to Primorse, and we're in like a phase 5 circle at this point.
Like, there was 60% water earlier. I think we could be 60. You know, that percentage is increased significantly with that shift. And with phase 4 being the land ratio shift, you would imagine that it's going to go to the area with the most terrain, which is just north of Primo, northwest of it, you know, kind of further, you know, a little further north than that. But this is a rough circle, Chunks. This is really, really bad.
Oh yeah, there's so much open space that teams are going to be forced to play with now. I'd expect a lot of squads to do exactly what LG are doing and kind of stick to that northern ridge, because you can, if you hold on to the edge of it, kind of work your way in and play aggressively. And speaking of aggression, look at this from AKA and now Duel as well, getting aggro early on, and they are just stuck for position. They're actually just going to set up at this roadblock here and try and use the little hard cover that they have, but I would expect a lot more teams to come for the same position right now as Empire. They managed to get over into the north of Primorsk, but they've already got AKA waiting for them. Oh, Nanua not able to land the sprays that he was maybe hoping for, but it's going to be the Gooners that actually clean up a lot of those kills and take Empire out early. I think it's only Michael left up here for Empire. A rough way for things to go in their final game, but sticking true to form after that early game loss of, I think it was Finner earlier.
Yeah, and it's just all down to Michael now. And, you know, we've seen him do a job. Michael's pretty good at being a sole survivor, as storming the beach. Oh, no, Sam, that's a nade. Get out of the way. Storming the beach is 55 Esports. They're getting held by Sam Crismo, who are trying to convert them to their ways from the section of the map. While all that's going on, but I just saw Bran full sending it to the south side of Primo, as Jube will get the job done onto Michael.
As nades all in this dip. I mean, 55, they've got something to work out of. Mixel could try and get a bit of an off angle to at least prevent the push from coming through. But I think right now it is just going to be a bit of a red zone. Down goes back. He flushed out as Trisk also going to be getting eliminated. H11, the final player left up. If he sticks this red, he's got to be concerned he's going to have a similar fate as Alcutia finally finish off a fight up on that northern side. Resmi going to be going out in 14th position.
13 teams left, 41 players up, but it might be about to become a little less as that nade gets the knock on the Mixtall, but there is no rebuttal or no follow-up being sent that way, as there's only one Gunner left, and that is Bunt. He's got 3 nades and 2 mollies, so he does have the potential to be explosive, as, well, Gabri catches out Sam Crow, so that was the player pushing up to try get the flush confirmed, will get knocked, and once that smoke dissipates, we can say goodnight, as PD should pick up another point off the back of that one. Oh my, Vinny. That's a disgusting little head. It was actually DraftKings that hit that headshot as another player falls on the beach.
It is a final stand for these players, you have to think. It's going to be hard to actually get out of this dip now. It was all well and good early on when you were making the crash, but as soon as these fights start to drag on, you know those players up on the hills are just going to cause you problems. Next phase about to pop.
What?
Yeah,
that's not the phase I thought.
No, I was actually expecting it to go all the way down to Prim. But I guess it shifts up, and that's going to be good for most of these teams. No one's really going to have to move. Even the squads on the beach are pretty happy with the way they shifted. They're not going to have to rotate. But it looks like LG, they're going to rotate anyway. They're getting aggressive with this one.
Yeah, LG on the move. They're full sending it down the main road. Now they'll pass the first test. Oh no, Snakers. He's going to pull up on the shack, and DraftKings.
Oh no, DraftKings.
Well, he's fallen back. He's fallen back to the tree. He realized he was too far in the open, and that will keep LG safe. But with phase 4 being the land shift and the center dot has to touch solid ground, I feel like it's actually really hard to tell, because you can get a phase 4 circle now essentially anywhere around the east, or sorry, the west and north of the circle. So this is still a tough one to call.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for anyone at this point. It's about waiting and seeing where that next phase is going to go. I'm surprised LG decided to make that push to where they did. when there is that kind of northern hillside that they could have worked with. Granted, they would have had to share it with Bestia, but I mean, considering their current position, I'm not sure whether they would have favored this if they knew what was waiting for them. Kind of. Mime tried to land a nade. It wasn't quite close enough. As LG, yeah, they're going to go for a bit of a reposition now. It's not all too surprising. Bestia are happy with the hard cover that they've got as Infinite Void tries to land a spray onto Vox. It gets returned by Gats, though, as LG from inside of the shack making it happen. One final player for Gooners goes down. It's going to be Bunt out in 13th position. As I'm not too surprised to see so many squads having fallen so early. I am a little bit surprised that so many squads are unscathed, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of full force. Like you'd expect in a circle like this that people will be taking casualties. And one of the trends that we see in TPP is that teams lose solos a lot more, lose single and double players a lot earlier and a lot easier than we would see in, regular FPP gameplay. So it's worth keeping an eye on. This is a bit of a change from the norm. Oh, Kerak misses the chance to get a knock, which would have counted for 2 because obviously Log and Berry were getting themselves a player closer in to get res. Here comes the Al-Qudsiya rock up onto the hill and oh no, they're coming in slow, but to get there. There you go, Doo-Doo Gladiator. There's 1, there's 2. Doo-Doo Gladiator gets a 2.
Al-Qudsiya down again. Another game where they got a lot of kills, but they didn't get a lot of placement after that early game engagement up in Georgia Pol. The Shinboy going to be taken out for Jewel. They're going to try and get the revive. It shouldn't be too difficult. They are one of the few teams that have hard cover in the center of the zone, or I guess it was the center. They've now it's now shifted away, and it goes all the way up to the north. So they are just about in, but now it's these teams that committed to Primorsk early that are going to have a real struggle getting in, especially with a squad like potentially Dangerous having that high ground and potentially being able to choke them out. It's really nice here from Vinny to be rotating around to the west. They've got a good entry into this circle. They are going to be forced into a valley if they're not careful, though.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Bestia. They had a 2-2 split, which was really powerful, securing 2 of the really good compounds. But with that shift, they're going to go for the one that's more central. So get all 4 players back up alive. That frees the yellow. That's just, just to the east of this position right now for a team to take if they realize that it is free. But all these teams that made the gamble on Primo, so AKA, Casito, to a lesser extent, potentially Dangerous, who elected to play Primo Hill, it's going to get really busy on that section of the map now. Because these teams inside Primo are going to run into a fight no matter which way they go.
I mean, the same being said for 55 Esports here. They got themselves a little bit of a dip, but potentially Dangerous have already made themselves known. The vehicle actually taking out Trisk as it blew up. H11 should be able to get the revive, but that smoke only provides so much cover, and for so long as PD, they are all just focused in on this. I gotta think maybe just have one player anchoring over to the east. The rest of them need to focus onto Primorsk and catching those rotating teams when the time comes, but that's not just yet. LG, I mean, they've got hard cover. That's about all you can give them right now. They can't really move out of this compound because Bestia will just absolutely melt them as soon as they try and run up this hillside. They're just going to play for placement for the time being, make themselves known, and hope that they don't get crashed.
Yeah, and Knight Yvonne still playing this position. And I'm going to call out one of our mods, by the way. Good old Halsey, the leader map, my favorite command. Are you a fan of leader map?
I love the leader map.
Yeah, get me a leader map command where it just takes you to a special version of the map stream where it watches the lobby leaders.
Map screen.
Yeah, yes.
Like that.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so, I mean, no, I'm not going to roast the whole OCE community right now. I'll leave that till later.
Don't you dare. OCE fans and players are precious, and I will take no OS slander here. We've even brought in an OS caster for tomorrow night to keep the OS community happy.
Look, I like the OS community. I'm repping an OS team shirt, or a former OS team shirt, I guess. But still, everyone knows I have an affinity for the OCE region, just as I do for Americas. Dartek, though, takes out on the final 2 players from Team Casito. Down in 11th. Still not in placement point territory. That's a little bit surprising for me, that Gibson, given, the kind of circles that we're dealing with as AKA, they're going to actually somehow keep vehicles inside of this zone, which is going to play a huge part, but they don't really need them with a shift like that.
Mm-hmm. I've got a challenge for you tomorrow when I'm not here.
Yep.
I want you to give me loads of Team Quesito Despacito puns. That's your challenge for tomorrow night. I'm going to lay down that gauntlet for you. There's a throwback song for everybody as K-Mind is all alone inside a shack. The first nade will blow the door. The blue zone nade will blow a ton of damage onto K-Mind as he's forced to leapfrog on out. And well, the Doo-Doo Gladiator will say thank you very much as he picks up his 5th kill. I've been impressed by Doo-Doo, I'm not going to lie.
I mean, not really living up to the name. He's far from Doo-Doo, but he's certainly a gladiator with the amount of fights he's taken as potentially dangerous. Look to try and find anything onto AKA, but right now, they're not too worried. They've got the vehicles. They are going to have to crest over the ridge at some point, which could cause them problems, but there is another one of those little roadblocks that they can try and work with here. They just need to be careful of in Zeke when they come over that hillside, because they've already got players anchoring and looking down to the south. I'm surprised that the quarry teams haven't already made a move, though. They are still just kind of posted up on the high ground, almost playing a game of chicken for who's going to be forced into the zone first.
Yeah, I like what what Long have done. Like, they've gone and got XP into the circle, leaving Beast to hold the other side. And well, by the way, just as I was talking about Beast, he is going to get knocked up on that section of the map. But I'm looking at the south, right? 55 are in a lot of trouble. Loganberry, they're could have make the move now with the blue zone pushing this way, and that's a great nade. That's a really good nade from Beast Weaver.
I didn't even know where he was throwing that at first. I'm surprised that that was able to connect. XP gets caught with a nasty little headshot, forced into the shack. So Crimzo go down in 9th position, unfortunately not quite able to make it into the placement points as 55 Esports. They've been fighting tooth and nail all game. Unfortunately, do get caught as they're going to be men out. Only going to be Trisk left up. He is spotted now as he tries to return fire with a bit of util, but it's going to be LG that come in to save the day, with Voxic catching a nice spray. And this is where we see LG turn up. They managed to get out of that little shack that they were playing for the longest time, and they're already on 2 kill points. I'm sure they're not going to try and slow down anytime soon. They still have to be wary of Bestia, though.
It is insane that 55 are still alive and they've managed to push up this far, and they might just be able to get more points on the board as Trisk is just, his name's Trust 22 centimeters, but he's 22 centimeters from the blue as well, as he is making us up. I don't know what 22 centimeters is in American. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, guys, but stun grenades thrown, but he doesn't push. Trisk, you throw the stuns, you double down on them, you gotta get aggressive off the back of it, and now this will be easy for Infinite Void. It should be easy for Infinite Void.
No, they're just focusing on getting in the circle. It's PUBG. Gotta make it to that late game. And I mean, right now, they have to think about a couple of things here. They have to try and get down this hillside. They also have to try and finish off this solo player. And I don't think they're all too concerned about him. I think they're hoping that LG are going to be able to finish the job for them. They just need to try and get some kind of entry into zone, which right now is going to be very difficult for them. I mean, talking of the zone, only Bizzler is inside. Finally, Bestia have sent some vehicles down there. Mime's making that entry, but there is so few players in the zone now. It's almost going to be a game of chicken, like I mentioned earlier, where they are just waiting and seeing who gets forced out by zone first, and then kind of capitalizing on that, trying to take them out. As AKA, they try to capitalize on Bizzler, caught inside the shack. Surely that's got to be the end of him.
Oh, that nade wasn't good enough, and now Doo-Doo... Oh, there we go. That nade was a lot better, and the Bizzler will fall as Doo-Doo will get his 6th kill of the game. Mime went for the center of the circle, Chunks, grabbed what was in the loot crate, and went back to the edge. He's going to edge his way into this one as Gabri picks up that kill onto Dartek as AKA lose another on the edge of the circle. Nanu might be the next one to fall as Gabri doesn't have the ammo to blow the vehicle up, but does just have to have patience. All you need is patience and you'll get a kill. Same for Trisk. Snakers will stand still. You gotta hit the headshots, Trisk. You gotta hit the headshots, and now Snakers, it's target acquired, and Trisk will be forced to relocate once more. And Gats, well, Gats doesn't really have the angle to take on this fight. And Doo-Doo Gladiator with another one. Why not? Pick up that knock on Infinite Void. This is excellent from Doo-Doo.
This is so well played from AKA. I'm shocked they've been able to make it in like this. Taking down Snakers as well now. 55 Esports, they fall out in 6th position. We're now into the top 5 as AKA they're going to try and get Jude back into the Shaq. They need to be careful. All it takes is one well-placed nade and they are done, but potentially dangerous. Just focusing on bandaging up with that solo player in Zeke. They haven't got too many kills this game, but now is the time for them to come into their own. They've got 4 players up. They've got plenty of util to work with for the time being. And PD, well, plenty of ammo, but I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to make much happen up against a squad like LG with only a solo. I say that, but Bestia are third partying onto it, and it might make life a little bit easier for those teams on the West that were being kept down, basically, by LG.
Yeah, the West is essentially clear now as Gabri finds the knock on the Doodoo as the final boss of the lobby will fall. Jube is going to erupt into flames, but watch your arm, like, can you get this nade up? No, the stun, he hits it the other way. It bounced off the wall and went out the other window, but it ain't going to be good enough as Gabri will pick up those kills. Somehow, he managed to get into that circle from the position he was playing, and now it's a 4v4, v3, v1. LG 3 up, Inzeke team 3 up, and Bestia up on the edge with all 4, and the yellow building in the center of the circle is still vacant in this economy.
How is the question. I think everyone might be just afraid of pushing into it just because it allows every team around you to try and focus. They're all just focusing on the ridges. Instead, Bestia, they're going to be forced into a fight up against Inzeke. I don't think DraftKings realizes just how close he is to those players up ahead. Andrew laying prone, using the smoke for cover. It might just cause Bestia to over-rotate here. Voxic also going down for LG as the fight starts to kick off. Mime gets the opening knock. Vinny opens it up with a second and a third. It's the other Vinny, actually, that takes down Mime instead. It's potentially dangerous. Somehow still up with one player in Zeke. They finally got the opportunity to start taking a fight, but they just got pressured so hard. DraftKings with a really well-placed frag grenade. Oh, only one player left from the other Vinny. Only one round mag, I should say, left from the other Vinny. As I mean, the ammo situation is dire. He's just getting pressed by Bestia, and I can't blame them for this.
Yeah, Silzen with a nade now, pushing the other Vinny, as you say, but he'll pop inside a car, and well, I want to see some Vinny on Vinny warfare as he's going to send it now in towards the yellows. That's exactly what you want to do if you're a solo. But it's vacant. Vinny, get inside. It's safe inside the center of the circle, and you might get an extra few placement points in position. But Bestia, they're up to 10 kills now in this 4v1 v2.
This is huge from Bestia. They took it a little bit slower in the early game, but once they had control of that hillside, they made it work. 6 kills from DraftKings alone. Absolutely cracked as Bestia. They look to try and finish off the job. Now it's just a case of not making any stupid mistakes, not letting LG get the wrap on you, which they are certainly going to try and do, even with only 2 players. It looks like instead, though, they're going to move around to the southwest, group up as a team. Gats, I'm pretty sure, again, he's really low on ammo. I don't know what is going on with him. He needs to start looting some more.
Yeah, it's all about ammo. Like, that FAMAS with its high rate of fire will chew up 42 rounds in the blink of an eye. And Mime has a level 3 helmet too, so that will chew up an extra few more if you fire it this way. DraftKings got the level 3 as well, so why not give the player who literally carried Bestia in that last map to qualification for PGS a level 3 gear? Great nade from Silzen, finds 78 damage down onto the hill line. But the best thing about a grenade, Chunks, is it doesn't actually damage the helmet or vest. So Snakers can slow down and get his HP back up.
But what can Luminosity really do here? I mean, they can crest over this ridge, open themselves up, and take the fight head on head with Bestia. I'd imagine they try and wrap. Mime's already covering for that. Their options are limited here. They've already had an amazing performance. To be able to make it into the top 4 again, they are just stacking those points, but everything is really on Bestia's shoulders. They're a squad that so far haven't got a huge number of points this evening, not to kind of dismiss what they've gotten, but they've got 18 going into this game. So this is going to be a big game for them if they're able to seal the deal. Already plenty of kills on the board. They're going to be eclipsing a lot of teams in the top half of that leaderboard, but they really want to get that win, just solidify their position and give them that confidence going into day number 2.
Yeah, Vinny, though, still alive for Inzeke team. The last player up for his side, closest to the center of the circle. So he's hoping, in an ideal world, he's hoping LG and Bestia get into it. they take, whichever team wins will suffer a casualty or two, and maybe he can sneak out and get an extra, get the extra placement point, maybe an extra kill or two to go with it. And who knows, on any given Saturday, maybe even the win and the chicken dinner to finish off the night. But for Bestia, it's time to reposition the UAS, because you know what it is? It's more hard cover, Chunks. It's another bit of cover inside a circle like this, which does have plenty of trees. And in TPP, trees are death.
Yeah, that's rough. They threw down the shields for a little bit of extra cover. One that blown up, though, by a nade, and it's Sills and a Mime that clean up. Now, finally, Vinny tries to open up, tries to make a bit of noise, but it's no joy. Mime picks up the final kill, and that's 13 for Bestia, mimicking the performance that we saw from LG earlier on in the evening, and that is going to give them a huge boost going into day number 2. And what a way to wrap up the evening, putting in a lot of damage, getting themselves a lot of kills out of it, and ultimately getting that win.
And showing that this weekend, or at least on Saturday, that 13 kill chicken dinner earlier on today from LG won't be bestiaed at the end of the night, Chunks. But that is the conclusion of all of our games today. So let's have a look at the highlights of that game as we see things getting kicked off nicely with that fight on the beach. But Chunks, day 1 is done, and we have seen some really strong performances from some of these teams.
Really strong indeed. When you look at a squad like Luminosity, they had so many kills this evening and placement points to go alongside it. I got to give credit, though, to Team Casito, who, sure, they didn't have those high fragging games as much, but the consistency in terms of placement, kills are always going to come alongside that, even if you're only grabbing 1 or 2 a game. To be able to get so many placement points, they're at least going to be in the top 5, you've got to imagine, even after the really strong performance from teams like Potentially Dangerous, like Bestia, who were already in a fairly decent position on the standings. That just gave them a huge boost.
100% as we have a look at that end game once more. Mime loves a good drive-by and those final circles, and then, well, for Vinny, there was no real chance of getting a win in that one because LG didn't do any real damage of note to Bestia. So let's take a look at the points from that game. Bestia with 23, PD picking up 13 of their own, which will rocket them up. Apart from Bestia, a couple of teams that were on the wrong side of the leaderboard picked up a nice points tally in that map.
This is something we kind of expected to happen, and we also hope for, we want to see those explosive performances from a couple of teams, because as we mentioned so many times, in an 8-game format, it only takes a couple of games to really, move up to that top half of the standing, and we've seen that. There are a couple of squads that have definitely disappointed this evening, but we start on a clean slate tomorrow almost. Sure, the leaderboard's going to be in place, but it's not like a long form event where they've played each map 5 or 6 times. It is very much how you react to the problems. Are they going to adjust their drop spots? Are they going to go for the hot drops again? Things like that. How are the circles going to affect things tomorrow? As we take a look over at the overall standings, of course it's LG that are out in front after an amazing performance, but Bestia, I think they jumped all the way up from like 8th or 9th place all the way to 2nd now. That was a huge performance.
Yeah, those 23 points rocketed them up the leaderboard, aka their points tally got them up into 9th now. Nzeki had a pretty good game that time as well. It gets them inside the top 8, which is where you want to be this time tomorrow. Now remember, Typhon are already qualified through to the Masters, as are Empire. So with Typhon being through already, if they finish in the top 8, the 9th place team will qualify, provided it's not Empire, which means that AKA will be picking up that spot at this point in time. And I like the way this leaderboard is looking, right? Because when you have maybe 1 or 2 teams that are putting themselves a little bit further ahead of the rest, it really ups the ante for everybody else, because that 8th spot cutoff is like every team in this lobby can get themselves into the top 8 with not even a great game, just an average game tomorrow, first game tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you look at teams like Gooners who are just right on the edge of getting into that 9th position based on how things are currently laying out. That would give them a qualification spot, but we still have 4 more games tomorrow, and as we've seen, all it takes is 1 or 2 strong performances. You boost your way all the way to that top half, and hey, it's anyone's game at this point.
It really is, Chunks, but that brings us to the end of tonight's broadcast. Chunks and I... Well, Chunks will be here tomorrow night. I will not be here, as Chunks has reminded me several times tonight already. He's being joined by his big name friend Xenox tomorrow, which will be, friend of Xenox, friend of Chunks tomorrow night, which I'm sure all the OS fans will be enjoying. And then, Chunks, even sadder for the Masters next weekend. There'll be, we can't say who the crew is, but it'll be a different crew to take you through all the Masters this year as well.
Yeah, you had me panicking earlier, thinking that I'd made plans when I'm supposed to be working. No, it's fine. We got a different crew. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see when that announcement comes out. I'm sure you guys are going to absolutely love it. But let's just say they got the big guns in for the Masters, and it's well-deserved because that's the best of the best at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. But Chunks, that is it for day one. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. To all the viewers at home, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a brilliant Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you are in the world. Make sure to tune in, though, tomorrow. EMEA's event is on from, I believe it is 6 p.m. GMT. I'm not going to do the conversion to Eastern. I think maybe that'll be 1 p.m. Eastern. And then later on in the day, you can catch the Americas same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, though, stay safe, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.
soldier.